Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha, our producer, is here. Butler is here. The fish are fine. We have other guests that are sitting in the lobby, which is when we do Fringe Week, I feel very professional because we do.
Yeah, well, dude, we went the whole year with very limited guests. I mean, what, 5?
Seth.
Yeah, Seth.
That's it.
You know, like
really just Seth, and I didn't even want him.
Right.
It was sketchy at the beginning. I'm not gonna lie.
He's turning a corner
we probably shouldn't do this.
He's turning a corner now because he's softened a little bit.
Yeah.
He's kind to women.
But someone walked in on the bathroom too yesterday.
Somebody walked in on you?
Yeah. It's because
why did you lock the door, man?
Oh, because I'm not used to it because we never have guests. So I close the door. Like when Samantha's not here, we don't even close the door.
No, when you're not here,
poop with the door open.
So next week it's going to be
I love
door
it.
open crazy.
I love it. I get here in the mornings, I go straight in there and I poop door open and I take my pants all the way off and I sit wide. I do a wide sit.
So then,
man spread.
Yeah,
I'm not used to it. So then someone, a guest walked in. And he's like, "Oh, you didn't switch the occupied because Samantha put the
guest chastised you like that."
No,
Who was the guest? Who was it? Was it Ginger Minch?
No,
it was
because I was going to say, don't talk back.
It was Justin, I believe.
You should have shamed him.
No, but he was right. Because why do we have the occupied, unoccupied slider?
I
don't know. I don't use it. It's manual. I don't want to manual. I do enough around here. I do enough around here without having to tell you guys I'm in the goddamn bathroom.
We need porta potty style where when you lock it says
that's how you know you're fancy. Hey, behind our bit, we'll get to our guests. I promise.
Sorry.
This is
Bruce.
Kind of
I'm edge of my seat.
Yeah, Bruce, you're gonna love this. They're behind us, and I almost took a picture and made a meme for Oscar the Grouch because it's a new thing I've seen. I've never seen one of these. It's a dumpster for if you're renovating.
Oh, yes.
Yourself, but on the dumpster, built onto the dumpster, is a porta potty.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's right back there. It's bright red. It's called Red Box Plus, which I don't know about the name because, or maybe it's hilariously
You can watch
funny.
a movie while you're in the bathroom.
Yeah, but it's a red dumpster and then welded to the side, perfectly connected to it. Is a porta potty, so you can rip out all the carpet and then take a deuce.
Who's it for? Like the
Oscar the Grouch, and I was going to take a picture of Oscar Grouch's mansion and put it up there, then I'd be TikTok famous or something.
Red Box Plus, 2 problems, 1 solution.
Boom!
It's our mission to save you time and headaches so you can maintain a clean and efficient job site.
Yeah, while you're pulling out carpet, and when Javier's like, "Whoa, man, I ate," and he runs over and take a dump, Javier. We got to pull this carpet out.
Is this because rich people don't want the people doing work in their house?
Racist.
This is the Trump. Didn't Trump with the Secret Service this happened? He didn't want the fatzos.
He didn't want the fatzos pooping in his pooper.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous because he got a giant mansion. He's not even been to half his bathrooms, I'm sure, in his house. But
oh my God.
But I think that I've never experienced that. Because when I was redoing the inside of my house, everybody's just deucing it up.
Yeah. Well, I have a story.
Go out in the yard.
I could tell this story now that your wife is an independent contractor, works for herself. She's part of the Bart Merrick team. When she was working for the moving company and moved us in, that one little Mexican boy that carried my couch up alone. He carried it on his shoulders. This guy's an Adonis. He carries this thing up the stairs and he sets it down by himself, and all of that it was almost like a form of self-preservation. He'd use so much energies. It was like Stranger Things. One little bit of blood comes down, and he runs for the bathroom, and he sprayed it all up. Remember? And then my wife told Crystal, and Crystal's like, "Well, I have to report this." Like, no, don't report it. Leave him alone.
Well, he had 2 McDonald's big breakfasts in his truck.
That's the one with the styrofoam top.
With a big coffee. Smoked a joint. That's a lot of diarrhea in the morning. Anyway, sorry.
Speaking of a lot of diarrhea in the morning.
So it is Fringe Week. Obviously,
excellent segue.
OrlandoFringe.org.
That's probably the best segue we've
Honestly,
ever done.
I should be so lucky to get such a warm introduction every time. Warm.
Bruce Costello is here, and he's going to talk about a show, Dogtanic. And this is I
love the name.
when I'm reading all the descriptions of every Fringe show, it's like I'm reading my high thoughts at night of like because I'm like, how do you come up with this? Like it's so over the top and like unique. That it's not. There's no like. 5 New York friends live in an apartment. You got a like a little quirky one, like it's not nothing's a standard.
Wedding single.
5 friends, destitute artists, figure out the plague of AIDS on New York City in the late '90s.
It's called Lease.
So, how you doing, Bruce?
I'm well.
Sorry about
welcome to our silly show. But hey, thanks for being a good sport. So tell us a little bit about Dogtanic. I could read what's on my paper, but I'd rather hear it from you. Tell me, please.
Yeah, so I'm glad you like the name. I spend an awful lot of time thinking about names. Like, I feel like the marketing lizard brain is so important to me for when I make a show in general.
Sure.
So, clearly, my lizard brain is working. So Dogtanic is about, there were 12 dogs on board the Titanic at the time it sank. And so it's sort of a comedy, historical deep dive into those dogs, but also like human and animal relationships, sort of how we deal with the collective trauma of like disaster and tragedy. And it's
I also didn't know there were dogs on the Titanic. So in the opening line of your little bio, I was like, whoa. I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, it was very simple to get me to want to see your show, because I think that's a fact that, and I love quirky facts like that. In fact, you and I share a very great affection for the opening of Niagara Falls when they engineered a very small to scale Noah's Ark and filled it full of real animals and then pushed it over and killed everything except the birds flew away and the monkeys did make it to an island. But there is a weird affection I have for their. Yeah, like, well, I love animals.
Wheels are turning. Fringe 2012.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get
I'm a magpie that way. Anytime that's weird facts and niche history, that's cool. The stuff I latch onto. I have a Google Doc of just like show ideas to develop, and anytime I encounter like a weird news story or a historical fact or something, I add it there.
I think it was an opening for a hotel. I may be wrong. I don't believe it was the opening of of Niagara Falls, but it was at Niagara Falls, and it was a hotel opening. And they're like, "Well, this is a great way to do it. Let's kill all these animals on a tiny Noah's Ark. That's awesome. I'll be there."
So Bruce, I'm guessing the dogs that were on the Titanic, and I don't know if
you
know
to
this.
The ending.
No, but they were rich people's dogs, right? Like, the rich people brought their dogs. They don't let poor people bring their dogs.
Nothing has changed.
They've been bringing their dogs on the flights. Now they just have to be for their anxiety.
Poors ain't allowed to have dogs. Especially back then, it was travel was limited to like the really, really wealthy. And a lot of them just knew each other. They were a lot of the same families would kind of do the same travel routes, and so they would either bring their dog on or sneak it on, but there were 12 on board, and I was only limited to first class. They charged you the same amount as a child for a ticket.
Really?
Yeah.
So
not a bad deal.
Yeah.
So how does it work for you, Bruce, when you read this tidbit and you just said your mind starts racing, and then so you come up with the idea of Dogtanic, and then which is super funny and creative, but then how do you think about all right, well, are they going to be actors playing all the dogs? Like, how's this going to be work? Is it how is this going to be accomplished? And then what's the story? So how does that? Do you think of the story first and work backwards?
I joked in some of the marketing that I was like, PETA, actually, due to heat we've received from PETA, we will not be doing the all-dog production of Dogtanic. No,
I like that, yeah.
I'm a solo performer through and through, so I've been producing solo work since 2018.
Okay.
So I always try to write from the angle of creating a little world in which I am sort of the host that introduces you to it and guides you through it. So for me, it was always going to be something that I was going to tell. This is, of anything I've done, I usually play a character, and this is probably the most personal, strangely, thing I've done. I'm playing myself. So,
cool.
Yeah. So all the different shows have their own little sort of requirements and needs. So the last one I did was during the winter mini Fringe back in January, and it was an outdoor performance. And it's a psychological thriller about Bob Ross. called Unhappy Accident. And so I played someone that hijacked the studio and was pretending to be Bob Ross.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, man, you might be my guy. I think I found my writer. Yeah, thank you, Brian. Like these are the things that I think of at night. You know, very similar type of right. Doesn't it sound like the dumb? I didn't say the S word. Does it sound like the dumbass I say?
And that's just it, right?
Yeah, because it's fun.
Yes.
And it's in its purest form, it's nothing but creative, I think.
Well, thank
because it's just like, I like trying to think of things, and tell me if you're like this. And first question that I have for you is like, why is it so difficult to play yourself?
Well, I think a lot of actors, generally speaking, and I'm speaking in broad brushstrokes here, but I think a lot of performers love to inhabit someone else's skin, right? Like that's the thing of like, oh, well, anything I do up there is not me, you know, it's someone else's situation. It's someone's lived experience. So for me, this is sort of the first time that like I'm being a bit more vulnerable in that way.
Okay. It's more honest.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I've done shows in the past that are more like cabaret style, like history, facts, things like that. But this is autobiographical in a lot of sense. So it's a new challenge for me.
So, back to Dogtanic, because did you find any evidence of what happened? Okay, it's like we've all seen the movie Titanic, and that's where I get all my history.
I was trying to think about that before you came in here. I don't remember seeing one represented in the film. I would imagine that they would have tried to throw one in there, or Cameron would have, right? Because he probably wants to be
some rich lady running with a tiny Yorkie, right? Like trying to save the Yorkie.
Well, you would think though too. Like, didn't Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yes, the
debunked the stars.
Yeah, and so like I'm wondering is there a dog in the movie?
There are. So I actually, funnily enough, haven't watched the full film during this because I didn't want it to influence me. But I saw it. You know, obviously.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think most people have.
But they're deleted scenes. So there is a scene where, and this actually happened when the ship was sinking, someone opened the kennels, because most of the dogs on board were stored in kennels. And there's stories of the dogs running across the deck, like as the ship was sinking.
Oh my God.
And so there's a deleted scene where there's like an Airedale Terrier and a French Bulldog just like running.
Oh, no, it's so sad.
I know.
God, I don't want to see that.
I think that's why they got rid of it.
Yeah.
Animal endangerment kind of.
It's funny too how
off.
we all animal lovers are so.
We watch 1,000 die.
Yeah.
We got Leo's frozen to death, and we watch him like they're like, let me peel his frozen fingers off and make him sink.
But they're like, not the dog.
Which is a little bit of a D-head move, right? It's like at least let him freeze.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just
I always
like
thought it would have been cool if his fingers broke off. Like I think that's a good move.
That's a different movie.
Yeah, and then like he falls, but then you gotta chip it. Then you just gotta break his fingers off and make him follow him.
For sure, there's no way any dog ended up in a lifeboat because that was a harder. Oh no! Oh, you know?
Oh,
okay.
Hey,
because I was like,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
It's a harder time for humans. Like you potentially die at any moment of diarrhea. You're gonna punt a dog.
I hope at one
you know
point. I hope at one point a dog gets one of those rusty service revolvers from those guys, and he holds it up and he goes, "Stand down! I will use this." When and all the poor dogs are like wanting to charge him, and he's
they had their own lifeboats.
Yeah, shoots a warning shot.
Like half the people on the Titanic were already dying of a tooth infection. That's how you died. I was like, the oldest person alive was
a lot of consumption
62.
on that boat.
Yeah. It's like it was a rougher time in the world.
A rougher time.
A lot of hay.
Did that on
goods.
purpose.
A lot of blood coughed hankies
It's
on
not
that
because
boat.
I'm illiterate. I'm a comedic genius.
I saw your eyes
You
light
said you're a
up.
comedic genius.
You heard me.
I did.
So a dog got on the lifeboat?
I won't give you the firm number. I mean, you can Google it if you really want to know.
No, I don't want to ruin it.
I will say that one of the dogs on board was a Great Dane, and you can imagine how great that worked out for that Great Dane.
Oh, no.
They punted him off.
You're too big. You're too big. Yeah, you gotta go.
I'm saying, like, humans were harder back then.
You
They
know,
were like,
it feels
"Get this
a
damn
lot
dog
like almost any friend of mine that's ever gotten a mega dog.
Yeah.
They like it for a couple weeks, and then after that, they just don't want it around their parties because he's eating all the chips and knocking everything. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely.
But I'm not talking Labradors like normal dogs. I'm talking mega dogs, like those ones that Irish people have that are all gray and they stand taller than I am.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
hounds or whatever.
Yeah. Those things are like they like drag you into the moors, in the swamps, right? Like Sherlock Holmes, they're pulling you in there.
But also, you're like on a lifeboat. There's a Great Dane. You're sitting there. You're the you got away from all the poor people
I'm just
swimming. You're
stupid
like,
enough to think I jump on the Great Dane. I'm like, swim, boy. You know?
Ride Shadowfax. Right, yeah.
but you're looking around. And you're like, man, there's a lot of people drowning out there,
Yeah.
and my dog's here. Like this seems a little bit off, right?
Or you and your dog are sitting in the boat already, and you're watching other people get loaded on. And you see they stop some old granny, and she's like, "Please, I just want to see my grandchildren."
You're like,
you,
"Too
you look at your dog. You look at him. They look at is that a Great Dane? Like life expectancy, like 8 years. How old is he? I'm like, I'm lying. I'm like, he's 2. I see a gray snoot. Get him off.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, no.
So there is accounts of dogs that have actually that lived through and got on and survived the Titanic's sinking.
For sure.
Crazy.
The whole impetus for this was so I actually, this is not my first dog show. I'm a dog person, amateur historian, professional dog person. The last show I did that was dog related was called Mutnik, and it was about Soviet space dogs. And so I played the first dog in space.
Did that come here?
It
I
2018.
remember. Yeah, I remember Mutnik. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, very good.
Totally remember that. I like that you're keeping with. Yeah, it's like
this is my meta, like talking about the experience of it, sort of, because I got to tour it to some other Fringe festivals.
Nice.
And while I was in Kansas City for their Fringe festival,
Not as good as ours.
just different.
I love saying that. I love executing other Fringe festivals.
like Orlando's best
I'm
for
joking.
everything.
I'm joking.
I went to, they had a Titanic museum in Branson, Missouri, which is a 3.5-hour drive from Kansas City. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, they had all these plaques on the wall about because obviously kids don't care about maritime disasters, I would think. So
That's a lovely children's book title.
why you should care about ships sinking. There were all these plaques at like child height about the dogs on board the Titanic to give them like buy-in, and they kind of weirdly drop off near the parts where they talk about sinking. So it just stood out to me as like, well, you know, why is this how they try to get the kids to buy in? You know, like why is animal endangerment and like animal harm matter to us so much? But then, like, you know, thousands of people, you know, drowning simultaneously, but we're like, but what about the dogs?
Oh yeah. No, that's still. I mean, there are people that care way more about any sort of like dog GoFundMe or like
We know those people.
They will run and be like, oh my god, this dog's by themselves, no collar. Like the homeless people run over.
Yeah.
I'm kind
get
of
away,
becoming
homeless.
that. The more I interact with people, or during the pandemic, the more I didn't. I'm becoming a little bit of that. I have the 2 little old dogs now, and you know I enjoy just like an old man, like sitting with my 2 little dogs on either side of me like an evil genius and just staring off my balcony.
I think as humans, we look at the animals that are like, well, they're helpless. Well, I need to help them.
Yeah.
Like it's our instinct to help, as opposed to like you seeing a grown adult.
Your whole house is animal lovers, man. I mean,
a grown adult dressed like Fidel Castro with doo-doo on his pants. You're like, he did that to himself.
They need help too.
I know, but I'm just telling you. How
you don't need belly scratches. You're disgusting.
So people think
you are not a good boy.
So I'm interested into the dog being shot up into space as well, because
That's terrifying to me. Every time they talk about monkeys or dogs or even mice or anything up there, and I'm not one of those. I'm not gonna go protest or anything. Like, but when I hear it, I always try to imagine myself being the dog or the rat.
Oh yeah,
and feeling the G's I'm pulling and just being like,
terrifying.
what's happening? Like, it must be. You must think you're dying. Like, well, you have no concept of death, but you must if you do.
But
Which you don't, but you feel like you're
That's exactly what the show was. It was all like, from the point of view of the dog, and you left that theater just wrecked. It was such a good show, but you were wrecked by the end.
That
I love it.
I don't know if you saw that, and I keep talking about For All Mankind show, but
I thought we were going to talk about the octopus professor.
No, it's one of the two.
Yeah, it's
But
always the two.
There's a reference in that because it's about like the Russia United States space race and stuff. And there's a reference to the first dog. Was it the dog named Sputnik?
Laika.
Laika. Okay,
But,
whatever.
so,
Sputnik was a rocket. I forgot the whole
Well,
thing.
the American newspapers or journalists dubbed her Muttnik, which is how I got the name for the show.
And so there's a reference of that, and then they talk about like the dog, like the dog was a hero. Like the Russians were talking about, and then, like, the dog died a hero. And then that was the first time it even dawned on me, like, oh yeah, of course it never came back. like they shot this dog up there to see if it will live, but they didn't even care about trying to bring it back. Too much resources.
Yeah.
Like it's a dog. They don't care. Hard ass Russians. It never dawned on me. I thought it like. Came back and it was like, never.
They had a parade for the dog.
They put a
I was like, oh yeah,
they put one of those little hats on it. And
Also, the
some
60s
of them,
people,
some of them, like they had later ones that would actually once they would return, right, and then they would breed them and then send their puppies up.
Yeah, because they're like this one made it. Yeah, they did, but the first one didn't make it.
No. The Russian government at the time said that she lived for about a week before she died from starvation, and then years later they
got the dog food.
Right, right.
I thought I put in rockets. What's that?
No kibble for puppy.
They didn't even at least give it food. Like they had no.
No food was in there. No can opener. Oh man, very bad.
Literally no plan.
Yeah,
to
it
keep
was
it
like,
alive.
and actually within a couple of hours of entering the atmosphere because of heat exhaustion. So, yeah. But imagine, okay, so
man,
so like
let's go back to breaking Leo's fingers off.
Doing that show, like there was the other festival I went to was in Edmonton, Canada, and that's the biggest Fringe in all North America. There's 250 shows and myself, and I had to do that show 9 times in 10 days. And just dying every single day.
yeah, that's rough.
That's got to be hard, man.
I was just wiped. It just, no. So this
I love your topics, man. I love your creativity, and I'm glad that you get to. I'm glad that you get to pop in here too, because we love Orlando Fringe and getting to see people, familiar faces, familiar titles. It's always cool for you and I, Tom.
Yep.
Let's see.
Again, gold venue.
Yep. Get your button first. You got to have one of those. Brian never gets tired of me saying that. Get your button. $12 will get you in at the Gold Venue. It starts on the 22nd through the 29th. Check orlandofringe.org for all of your times, info. What else is on there that people might need to know that I'm blanking on? Parking.
Kids Fringe on the weekends.
Kids Fringe.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Outdoor stage, live music free every night.
May's got dance photos, too. I'm going to try and figure something out to get her over to Kids Fringe.
She looks incredible. She needs to be a Fringe performer in the future. Let's do it.
She probably will be. I'm trying to go that. She bullies me too much. She's not a... We don't have a good relationship.
I noticed she's not in the coloring book.
No, she's not in the coloring book. But, I will say that I have to say this. This is unrelated to anything Fringe. Eddie Bass took time out of his day to draw Maisie as Spider-Girl.
Oh, really?
And he sent it as a digital document to me and Andrea's phone and said, hey, sorry that Tom said Maisie shouldn't be in the coloring book.
I did not say
he's
that.
a horrible person, but it made her very happy. Yeah. So all is well. All is well.
Well, no, I'm gonna keep one, and when she turns 16, I'm gonna show her and be like, your dad didn't put you in here. My boys were in there. I don't know why.
Father
that is so twisted, man.
But he'll do it.
Yeah, I know he will.
I don't know why. He approved it. I have the email.
Of course I don't read my emails.
Bruce, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all, honestly.
Yeah, we will we'll take a break and come back with more corporate time right after this.
Woo. Welcome back to a Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Fringe Week 2021 continues. We have more guests in the studio, and let's jump into it.
Yes.
Our next guest has the particular, what do you call this, a play? Do you call this a show? I say show. I think show is correct. It's called Oscar Wilde and Jesus Walk into a Gay Bar. Donald Rupe is here. Hey, Donald, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
So, Donald, you got to explain how you came up with the title of this, because it's by far the most interesting so far that I've seen, where I don't know where it's going.
But I want to.
Yeah. So tell us about it.
Yeah, that was kind of the goal. I started with the title, to be honest, before I started writing the show.
Okay.
But I have this weird obsession with Oscar Wilde. Well, I get obsessed with like random things, and Oscar Wilde was one of them.
Why Oscar Wilde?
Well, I'm a theater person.
What? I thought you were a mechanic that started Fringe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to fix his boat.
I was going to got a carburetor
this guy
issue.
smells like diesel.
Yeah, genius, I know. And in college, I went through a phase where I read everything that he had written. And, so I was trying to come up with a show, and I thought, well, what if I do something with Oscar Wilde? And then I was obsessed with that idea, but I wanted to make it fringy, and also reading more about him, and he compared himself to Jesus Christ a lot, and he talked a lot about Jesus, and
I like that.
I think we should start comparing. Confidence. Well, but there is like one of the themes of Fringe, and Brian, maybe you can even weigh in a little bit on this. It's like I feel like Fringe is one of the only places that you can go and even question and use your writing, use your play, your musical, your whatever, your installation, your art, to even question Christianity or kick it around, or maybe not necessarily keep the same level of that, I guess, like openly almost fake positivity that people surround themselves around it. And I feel like Fringe is one of the only places where it's actually okay to go in there and have these discussions, maybe even poke fun at it a little bit. Be a little naughty with it, and I like that, because I don't think anything should be off limits.
And that's really what one of the beautiful things about Fringe is. It's that a lot of these shows could not be done in traditional theater spaces, and Fringe opens the doors for artists to do an uncensored performance of whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
We do not tell an artist what they can and cannot do. It's an uncensored festival. And
imagine that.
It's the ultimate of freedom, which I love so much, but it's so funny that people that love, if you go like, who would be offended by this? Love freedom the most. You know what I mean? But it's like, do you?
Because it's their agenda.
Because this is ultimate freedom. I don't know if you know that what ultimate freedom is, but being able to talk openly about anything is ultimate freedom.
Correct.
And the fact that you have a problem with this, not ultimate freedom, because you're actually a hypocrite.
And a lot of the shows that you see, they come to the Dr. Phillips and things like that. These shows have had like producers and writers and all these people that have their hands in it. But a lot of these productions that you see at Fringe, the person on that stage is often the person that wrote it and is producing and putting it together. There's no other hands going into it.
And in some venues, when they're testing and practicing and working out the kinks, you're selling your own tickets, you're hustling, you're making your own flyers, doing your own Photoshop. I mean, it's very DIY. It's very punk rock. Now, did you grow up in maybe a Christian family? Do you have a background of that? And maybe this is, maybe, dare I say, a bit of your own journey?
There's a little bit of me in there, but I always write about myself, so my goal this time was to try not to do that.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Is that difficult? Was that difficult for you? Because I know that we all fall into the things that we feel most comfortable doing. That's been a theme you and I have been talking about. How difficult was it to say, okay, man, this time you're going to go and do something that's not so self-centric?
Well, I feel like what's going to happen is I'm going to watch it and realize that I actually did write about myself all over the place. I definitely say a lot of my own opinions, but those are shared with Oscar Wilde a little bit. So
so
it's interesting because the title itself, I'm not sure why people assume it's actually sacrilegious. Like, why is it so terrible that Jesus Christ would go to a gay bar? I like to believe my version of Jesus loved the gay bar.
Of course.
So people assuming that it's anti-Jesus or anti-religion is kind of...
Yeah.
Well, because it's...
traditionally, that's where whenever you link Jesus to anything, whatever he's linked to, if it's not outwardly and easily assumed to be a positive thing, then the other thing must be a negative thing. But in the Bible, Jesus spent most of his time, I believe, with like
marginalized people.
He was down there with the money changers, the gamblers, the You know, the people that had probably wine problems.
Yeah. No, and
I have a bit of a wine problem.
He was also brown, people. Let's just be honest.
Don't say that. I hate it when you say
from
that
the Middle
Jesus
East.
was
He was brown.
Yeah, I know.
Just accept the reality.
No blue eyes. No blonde surfer hair.
You have to accept that fact. It's just fact. If you accept that he was alive, then you have to accept he's brown.
Yeah,
but
that's actually a major plot point in the show. Jesus wasn't white.
Of course not.
Oh my God.
Like
that's a great T-shirt.
It's hard for people who are like, I want him to be blonde, blue-eyed, look tall.
There was a painting in my Methodist church. There's like a small painting in my Methodist church. There was an elevator where all the meemaws would use to go up because they're wheelchairs. And right by the elevator, there was this painting of Jesus. I have a photo of it on an older phone, but it looks like Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It looks like Sean Penn. It's blonde hair, like it's the same guy. And I always thought it was so hilarious because if you even as a child or as a young adult, you put 2 and 2 together based on just geography, you're gonna know. Yeah.
See, my whole reference to everything is I'm learning about everything. Like I didn't grow up in any church, so it's all like alien to me. So I'm like, all religion is interesting, and I'm looking at it from the outside, like, oh, this is interesting, and this, and like everybody has their culture and structure and what they believe in. So I love all this stuff. You know, I don't believe in it myself, but I love the culture behind it, and it's fascinating. You know, it's deeply ingrained into our human existence and has been for so long that at least, I mean, even like I talked to other atheist friends of mine, and they find it interesting as well too, but they usually go more negative towards it. And I'm like, it's fascinating that this look at the history behind it and look, you know.
Well, Donald, you hit the nail on the head when you're like, it's interesting that everybody wants to go that direction, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
When you were doing this, when you're studying both of these figures, were there things that you learned that you didn't already know about both Oscar and
I mean, a ton
Jesus?
is the short answer,
Yeah.
but there's one song in the show where basically the character is going through a lot of the things that Christians and people still believe that the Bible said that are just like totally ridiculous. So that was interesting, like just making a list of the most ridiculous things that occur in the Bible and then putting them into music and making a song out of it. That was fun.
Yeah. And I feel too like everybody can relate to it because it's one of those things. Again, it's touched. Even if you're not religious, a different religion, you've been touched by religion and know about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not like,
sure.
unless you completely...
It shaped a lot of our society.
So
some
everybody can relate
poor,
to it.
Some good.
Yeah. Like when it's all said and done, I'm also curious to like the writer aspect of this, because I feel like if you talk to an author that wrote a book and they'll go back years later and be like, if I could write it, I'd change this or whatever. But
comedians do that. Like Eddie Murphy's kind of going through that now, looking at his old stand-up, and he's he's kind of, and I think he used the term embarrassed of it, and I don't think that's fair. To
because
it's his stand-up. He can say whatever he wants to. It's not my stuff. I mean, that's him. But I'm just saying, I don't think I would feel that way. I think, it's a snapshot of that particular time, right?
Do these type of shows morph as you do them, and do you change them as you see fit, or is the original pretty true to where it started?
It really depends for me. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, I hate every part of the show that I wrote. But this particular
it's an honest answer. Yeah.
This particular show, I feel like it's more finished than usually. There's definitely nothing I would be ashamed of for saying. For me, it's more like a crappy lyric or a rhyme that I'm like, are you serious? You rhymed that with that.
Right.
So stupid. But for the most part, I'm fixing that as I go.
And you write on the music?
I wrote the lyrics.
And who performs them? Do you have a team of people you work with?
So I work with another guy. So I write like the lyrics and I record myself singing the melody, and then I have another guy who comes in and orchestrates the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Jason. His name is Jason Bailey. He's great.
Jason Bailey. Oh my God, we used to have a guy that worked here in town, a DJ. There's a real D-bag named Buckethead.
Oh, come on.
His name's Jason Bailey. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. He's a nice guy. He's a nice man. He's in radio. It'll be fine.
I don't.
He's a tough boy.
When you get the emails, you're like, "Why are they so mad?"
I was like, he'll email me and he'll be like, "Why did you say that? I'm nothing but nice to you." And I'm like, "I don't know why I say it. I have a problem.
We're just messing around." And then I'm like, "Dude, but anyway, sorry." It happens a lot.
Well, he was a D-bag to people. I mean, it's not like he wasn't a D-bag.
That's true.
You know, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, like,
but
maybe I've just hit the age. I'm about to turn 45. Maybe I've just hit the age, you know. Maybe once you hit Trump age, you go full on. You're like, I'm just telling it like it is now.
The older you get, you start just saying, "This is how I feel." Not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing.
That's kind of weird. Like when I'm writing, I often say things that I would never say in real life, or like the character is like way more crude. Or
well, when we're doing this, I feel more free. If I turn this mic off, I would never say that. Of course not.
It's weird.
Well, no, I would to you guys behind his back. Absolutely, I would.
You know, like, and I wonder if you've experienced this too. It's like weird how honest you get when you're on the stage, or when you're like, when we're doing the show, like all of a sudden you're like, why am I so honest to everybody? It's a weird psychology. You feel like you need to be more honest. I don't know why that is. You think you would feel like you need to be put on more of a show on, or be more dishonest, or because you're like,
that's interesting. Yeah.
But it seems
I think
like
it comes back to comfortability.
Like when we interview people on the show and stuff, they tend to be way more honest. Like even through interviews or whatever, they'll say things that they normally wouldn't share.
Correct.
In a normal scenario when they're not in front of a crowd, which is weird. Why is that as a human?
Where are you most comfortable? On the
life?
stage? Like when you're performing something you wrote, or does that put you on tilt a little bit?
No, I'm not a performer, but I do find myself all the time like saying things that, you know, like the things that you think that you would never say in public. But as a writer, it's almost like your responsibility to say those things. Like that's your purpose in culture is to, you know, make people think and push the limits a little bit.
You were just doing that when you were yelling in public that you don't believe the virus is real. At the top of his lungs, he's beating his chest.
Me and Daniel did walk into Publix with no mask for the first time, and it was weird.
It was weird.
I've been waiting for other people.
We were
to
triggered. We were like, it's weird, man. It's weird.
Because I was like, you know, with the new mandate, if you're vaccinated, it says you don't have to wear a mask. But I've been waiting because I don't want to be disrespectful. If everybo's still wearing, I'm just like, who cares? It's more important that another person not look at me like, what are you doing? Than wear the stupid mask.
Not a big deal.
But I saw a bunch of people walking in without a mask. We're doing it.
Yeah, we did.
And then we walked around.
And then a local comedian, Kirk Bonacci's in there, and he said hi to us. I saw his face for the first time in like a year and 3 months.
It is weird.
And it freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, I missed you, bro. Like we had a moment, you know, like it was.
I did not think, like I was thinking like, what is going to be walking into Publix without a mask? Like, is it going to be real weird, or am I going to go all the way back to just who cares, normal? It was a different experience.
It was.
Like,
it was a mood changer. I think your audiences that come to see you are going to be ready for this, and I think they're just going to be so happy to see your show, man. I'm so jazzed about
that human
Fringe.
interaction, man. It's just we were missing it, and it just goes to show you we are not built as a species to just see each other through computers alone, and that it was somehow going to take the place of human interaction. There's no substitute for it.
When something like that, you know, obviously we all dealt with this. What was going through your mind about, like, you know, what you do and something like this that you enjoy so much? Were you thinking maybe this won't ever happen again, or?
I mean, for me personally, I was excited to take a break, if I'm honest.
No, I like that.
A lot of performers and people said the same thing.
You guys
and
are burned out. I was burned out.
Yeah, a lot of people said it forced me to take a break that I didn't know I needed, but I needed it. And everybody said the same thing, and everybody's like, I started doing this. I spent more time with my family,
you know, like
whatever
this
it
might
was.
be our renaissance, you know, like we come to this Fringe festival. It would be interesting to see, and we should all keep our eyes on all of these awesome shows that are in town right now, and see which one, because some of these are going to end up they're going to be more creative than they've ever been, I believe, because people are ready. You know, they need it.
We cut the ribbon last night, and you could just see the emotion in the air, just like the people just so excited to be back.
You can feel it, man. Like, I got goosebumps when you're walking into Publix, I smell bread. That's so stupid. That's a stupid one.
But it's like, it's showing that we're getting back to normal. And, you know, Mayor Dyer was there cutting the ribbon last night, and he was like, we're getting back to normal, and this shows how we're doing. He
actually
not
declared it, but we're getting there.
The year of Fringe in Orlando in a proclamation last night. I'm like,
oh, very cool, man. Congratulations, guys. That's rad.
Not to get super deep and psychological with you guys, but I wonder, like, okay, so
we bust out my mushrooms.
Well, no, we all now know about like diet for the most part. Everybody's different, but we
Diet Coke.
If you it seems like a more healthy human diet is probably you go back to eating what we did 100,000 years ago, how we evolved, how our system evolved to eat. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and that makes sense. All these, you know, the bread and sugar stay away from, and have just more vegetables and meat sparingly or whatever, and then that's the most healthy diet because you're going back and you're doing what we evolved to do, right? So I wonder if, like, psychologically, our lives, like if I'm going way back, we had natural breaks in time where we just did nothing, or like because nature forced us. Like, you lived in a place where you got snowed in for 2 months, so it literally, you just had to be in the, like, you take a break, but nature forced you to. You had no other option, or you like went on a long journey to go find some other land somewhere, and it was like that took 6 months or something. You know,
sounds like you're trying to argue that I should have been kicked off a cliff for being so small and disfigured.
Well, I believe that.
Yeah, doesn't it sound like he's trying to argue that I should have been killed by nature?
So we get to a point in our human civilization where we naturally get 2 weeks off of work or whatever. It's like,
not enough.
And then even that, it's like, what is that? We go on a one family vacation where you drive your whole family to Disney World, and it's an extreme amount of work and stress to like and money to pay for, you know, and so that's your break. A bunch of stress and work and stuff. Then you go back to the work and the grind, and then it's like this pandemic all of a sudden forced everybody to take a break, and then we're all realizing, like, man, that actually did some good for me. I wonder if we'll never learn, right? We'll never, like,
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, so you said you recharge. You said you needed a break.
Taking a break.
You know, what did you find? Did you find you were more creative because of that, or?
Yeah, I think you used the word Renaissance, which is funny because the theater world is throwing that around a lot. And after the plague came the Renaissance.
Yeah,
and
it kind of feels like it.
I hope that in every way theater is going to change, and with all the stuff with social justice and everything changing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I just started a new theater company called Renaissance Theater Company for that
very cool
reason.
I love it. Congratulations.
Focused on new works, which I hope is going to be a bigger part of the Orlando theater community in the future.
I love our theater community, man. We're so lucky to have. I mean, we got all kinds of great stuff here.
This is a cool city, you know.
Yeah, it really is.
And
Fringe is like one of the only things that reminds us, I think, sometimes of how cool, because we get in here and we kind of tuck in, especially during pandemic. Again, we weren't out. We didn't get to see anybody.
Yeah.
A lot of these things that we're celebrating here today and we'll be doing all week are like outdoor stages, outdoor performances. Like, you know, I didn't know Sabrina. She's doing something one day thing, like a one-off
Real Radio
thing.
is coming on board as our official radio partner this
year.
So they're taking over the outdoor stage a couple nights, and it's just really just bringing the entire community together. So like, Donald's mentioning his theater company. I mean, you'll find other arts organizations. You know, we have the Downtown Arts District is doing a show this year. Opera del Sol is doing a show this year. So I mean, these other arts organizations, they come in and do shows because they know it's a place to have an audience.
Well, Donald, we can't thank you enough for coming in. It's Donald Rupe, Renaissance Theater Company. I'll say that now because brand new theater company. Get that name out there a bunch of times.
Yep.
Orange venue, $12. Starts on the 21st through the 30th. Get your button first. That's what I always say.
Yep.
Go to orlandofringe.org for all of your different times. If schedules change, or normally it doesn't, but just that's your one-stop shop. Make sure you hit the website. Are they doing the bracelet? deal yet?
No, all those sold out back
All
in
gone.
April, man. People jumped on them.
I had a feeling. Yeah. Because I know somebody, I've been getting emails about it, and they're like, are they opening anymore? And I'm like,
No.
Brian's too stressed.
You
Leave him alone.
gotta join Club Fringe. When you make a donation of at least $25, you get early ticket buying access.
There you go.
You get an air-conditioned lounge at the festival. And
No, that's
For only $25?
Just $25.
Jeez Louise.
Snacks, drinks.
Yeah,
all that
that's
stuff.
the way
Yeah.
to go. Well, Donald, thanks again for coming in.
thank you.
We appreciate it. Super duper fun. Guys, we'll take a quick break. Come back with more corporate time, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to another corporate time with Tom and Dan. I did it again.
That's fine. We're
did
starting.
it
Yeah,
again.
no one cares.
I care,
I
Tom.
mean, technically, we were here yesterday, so welcome back.
All I need to do is think of a generic thing to say that I can say every time. That way I don't have to remember anymore.
Maybe just say welcome to.
What if
Just
I
say
go?
hello.
What if I go? Yeah, I like that.
Okay,
Hello. Okay, let me try
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Hello.
That's it. Yeah.
Ah,
That's
we're
it.
in.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Finally, we figured it out. You guys want to do some voicemail messages?
We'll start with hello and end with
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Yeah,
We're
there we go.
brilliant geniuses.
Oh my God, nobody's doing this. It shaves off at least 20 seconds of small talk. All right, voicemail messages. Let's try this one.
All right.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh God! Oh God! I did it!
One time, a few years ago, my wife on the highway late at night ran over a cat. And she asked me very emotionally, Zach, what was that? And I told her it was a raccoon. And she's going to find out when she listens to this episode.
Oh, no.
Why would you do
terrible.
that? Sorry
You know-
about the music. I apologize.
I mean, a stray cat or raccoon on your love meter or your...
Wait, the Tom and Dan love meter? I
I
love the Tom and Dan
or
love meter.
your-
Kick that up to a 1095. We are losing BDMs like crazy.
I'd have to ask an animal lover. For you, Samantha, how much more of a difference does it make if you killed a cat by accident or a raccoon?
I'd feel bad for either, to be honest with you.
Same? It can't be exactly the same.
I guess more with the cat because it could have been someone's
pet, okay.
Yeah.
Dog or cat?
What?
You
Which one's
hit-
worse?
yeah.
Dog.
Dog or bum? This is a new game. It's a new
Dog
game
or
I
bum?
invented called Dog or Bum.
Bum.
Oh, okay. Bum or child?
That's a tough
You
one.
can play too. You can play too if you want to play.
We felt worse with a
She
child.
can't have all the fun. Bum or child?
Child.
Child or dog?
Child.
This is like an eye test. You know when they go one or
One or
two,
two.
one or two,
Okay.
2 or 4,
Uh-huh.
2 or 4, 4 or 6,
Um,
6 or 2,
man,
1 and 6.
I think if you live out in the boonies or in the country, you hit a lot more random animals that run across the street.
They're
or
called
whatever.
randables.
Yeah,
You hit
like,
a lot of randables.
I feel like you've at least hit
Possum.
more than 5 armadillos.
I don't
right?
understand why squirrels, if they're running across the street. I had one cross in front of me this morning, and when they cross in front of me, I don't change anything about what I'm doing. I just look slightly up so I don't have to see, but I know I'll feel it. And he just ran straight across. I was like,
Oh yeah, they're
thank
too
God.
fast. Yeah.
But sometimes they do that move where they're running straight across, and at the last second, they're like, oh, I forgot my wallet. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Dang, and he's dead.
That's the butler.
Yeah.
Oh, he forgets his wallet all the time.
There's some chopping squirrels that
Yeah.
they get electrocuted. Then they the power lines.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
they'll fall in your chimney and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Then they'll go crazy in your house and knock all your urns
Oh,
down.
they did. Remember, my dad had a squirrel in there and knocked over all of his urns.
Yeah, that's a chopping squirrel.
Yeah.
Like
It didn't die in there either. Like, they finally got it out after it had, like, just shredded our home.
Yeah. But it hurt.
Then there were baby squirrels in the chimney one time, and my dad wanted to light a fire and smoke them out. And the Florida wildlife was like, because my mom, very much like a Crystal Butler Van in this case, would my mom called, I think, FWC, and they're like, no, you can't do that. You got to let them like naturally, I guess, gain maturity and then leave your chimney before you can start firing things up. And I don't think my dad did that. I think my dad made the biggest Santa Claus is coming to town fire. I think he made a big...
They're not protected species. They're
big
fine.
backdraft.
I think we've got enough squirrels. We're fine, right?
But I don't think you're supposed to smoke them out.
No, I mean, if you talk to some, Crystal or like a animal refuge, that cares about them.
Like Florida wildlife people, do they care about the wildlife, or are they just protecting the wildlife?
They care, although it's interesting too, because I volunteered at the Bithlo. Florida. I've told the story multiple times. I remember befriended the wolf.
I love this. I love this because this is where you lost your love. I feel like.
No.
Yeah. What was this thing's name? Lobo or something? You fell in love with it?
And it was.
It had a name.
Yeah. No. It was.
He was in love with a baby wolf.
Malachi.
This guy
like the kid from Children of the Corn.
This guy fell in love with a wolf named Malachi.
And
you're gay for wolves, bro.
I only did it because they offered you got instead of taking the final exam, if you did 100 hours of volunteering at this place, you would get
for
it
college?
for college, because I had some hippie teacher.
Oh yeah, that is some BS college.
It was like it was. I was getting my AA, so it was like a beginning, some sort of.
It's funny that they call that degree.
Yeah. Anyway, so of course, instead of studying, I just wanted to do the hours. Although 100 hours at this scoop and doo doo is way worse.
100 hours of wolf crap.
Yeah, but that's how dumb I am. Because I looked at this, I was like, screw it.
You can write one paper, or you can do 100 hours of wolf diarrhea.
I'll listen to the talk radio and scoop poo poo. That's better to me and more fun.
So you were listening to me do talk radio while you were scooping wolf poop?
I think I was. God, might have been right before I was an intern, because I didn't have time when I was an intern. They took up all my time. So it was I was listening to you. And
how funny was it?
It was back. No, actually, I had to do it in the afternoon.
Was I killing it?
Listening to Phillips File. You're way better back then.
Man.
Back in those days, that was so good.
Oh, that was back when all radio shows didn't do trivia, where it was just like where we had topics and stuff.
But so the women who worked there, who ran the place, they cared about every animal.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
What? No.
You said the women that worked at the place, the women that ran the place.
No. It was
right.
No. These places primarily, I think, because women have bigger hearts.
They're nurturers.
They're they're nurturing gene, or for whatever reason, I just feel like women are better suited for animal care.
And there are a lot of women that work and that are really into dogs and work in the veterinarian angle are barren.
I don't know why I laugh so hard at that.
That makes you the bad one. I just say scientific facts, and this guy busts out laughing.
No. Anyway, so they were at the same point, super caring about the animals, and would do anything for the random duck that some redneck from Bithlo
this
brought
duck
in.
needs $1 to buy a scratch-off ticket. Here you go, duck.
And, whatever squirrel babies that some local brought in, this place would take every animal in and care for it.
That's good.
And try to release it. And the ones that couldn't be released because its bill got ripped off or whatever.
Put it on my bill.
They would just care for it for the rest of its life, because they know it couldn't be released in the wild. It would be killed.
I want to see what
it couldn't eat.
Sam, look up what a duck looks like without a bill. I want to see that.
They were also way harder than Crystal and other animal lovers that don't deal, because
more farm style.
Well, because they know the reality is they're the duck that's not going to survive or whatever. And they're better off using their resources for the ones that are going to make it. You know what I'm saying? They had to make decisions like that because they dealt with these animals all the time, which made them harder, but also more logical when it came to caring for them. They would be realistic at least, and if certain animals were not going to make it.
So what was up with you and Malachi's relationship?
That wolf.
That is blanking terrifying, dude.
Is.
Look at
I don't know that that's real.
Look at that duck without a bill. Then somebody photoshopped human teeth in there, and it's terrifying.
Was the only you have to feed those with a dropper. I learned that there's a couple no-bill ducks there. They wouldn't let the volunteers. Most of them were doing community service for DUIs,
right.
or juvenile crimes. So it was a bunch of
this dog got a messed up face.
And they're like scooping doo-doo because they got a DUI.
So you got Shaggy 2 Dope in there trying to feed a duck with no bill after an eye drop? That ain't happening.
No. If you were in there because you're doing community service, you would only shovel the doo-doo or spray the cages or whatever. The one, like, I was the only person that was in there from UCF doing this to get an A in my finals.
Not court ordered.
Yeah, not a court ordered.
But you did look like them, so they made you want to.
Well, at first,
they brought you in.
At first, but I also show up. I do because I'm at least like I talk like about how bad I am, but I'll show up on my days
and then
I'll,
this guy that looks like Post Malone's like, this guy's really into this. Like, he's into it.
And so after 80 hours of volunteering, and like they finally started letting me like hey, you want to go into the wolf cage and like you want
to go in the wolf cage and poke its anus with a stick?
No, they would let me do more like I could feed the porcupine by hand.
Wow.
You're laughing because you loved it. You loved every minute of feeding those porcupines.
And you loved
it. Hi there.
Feed him ribs.
Yeah, some grapes.
You're like, hi there, Porky. It's me, Drunky. Here's some grapes I cut up for you. I'm about to go poke this wolf's butt with a stick. I love it here. I'm gonna be a porcupine breeder.
I just don't want to disappoint people, so they're like, hey, do you want to feed the porcupine grapes? I have to act excited. Like, yes,
it's
I
like
do.
when I go, hey, you want to hear this new song I wrote for the show? You're like, oh, yes, I do. And then you're like, it's just like feeding grapes on porcupine. It sucks.
I have to
pretend. Mother.
That's because I don't care about anything.
So you have to fake everything you do? And so, no wonder he doesn't make sounds during sex. He doesn't enjoy it. He knows he's supposed to do. He's like pumping away, and he's like, I like this. I don't know.
I'm just messing around. Anyway, so
cut up some grapes for this porcupine.
I did feel bad about this, and I've said this the most because it's like something stuck out of my head about like something I feel bad about.
Oh my Loka, I'll hear you crying when you hail to the moon.
They did say they're like because they knew my 100 hours was about to be up.
If you want to go give your last respects to Malachi.
No.
Hey, if you want to go
put Malachi down?
No, they just said,
hey, Van, get over here. If you want to give Porky some grapes, you better get in there, and I don't want to see you cry.
Because it started with me. I was washing they put Malachi in like the cage next door to wash. Like it would be separated by.
Chain link,
like
right?
No, like a full bars. Like it was just like
oh my God. Was Malachi a wolf or a young boy?
And they do that so they could section them off while you clean one side of their enclosure, and then they go to the other side. You section, you know what I'm saying? So you don't have to be in there with the wolf because it is, I guess. I mean, this thing was a full bred. Like it wasn't like a
Ramsey Bolton wolf.
It was straight up
Game
Bolton
of Thrones.
Wolf.
Yeah, this one's looking for people to eat.
But it was playful and it was domesticated basically, but you can't really fully domesticate it.
No, you can never trust them.
And it was up there in age, so they get dangerous after a certain like a tiger,
man,
right?
Yeah.
But you
bite
could
your head off in line for.
You could be in the cage with it and like mess around with it, and like it would play around like a dog,
like a rope toy.
Yeah, a rope toy. You could pull it and whatever, and then when I was hosing out one of the side of the cages, it would go walk back and forth, and I started with playing with the hose with it. It would go and try to attack the hose like a cat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then
hey, look out there, the new guys. The new guys.
I have never once in my life seen a cat do that. I've seen dogs do that.
Look out there, the
Cats
new guys
hate water.
really getting nose his way around Malachi. I think they're actually communicating.
Yeah, like cats will they'll swat at a laser pen. You know what I'm saying? They're just following the thing. Anyway, so then the owner
Malachi's lost. We don't know where to find him. We got to find Van, the new guy. He's the only one that can speak to him.
And so the owner's like, hey, you can start, interacting with them and playing with them, but
it rips your throat out.
It's on you.
Yeah.
Well, there were some warnings that I didn't pay attention to. Like, if it starts attacking you, do this, do that, or whatever. Like, I had to listen.
I'll kill it.
Yeah. I was younger, too, so I had way more confidence.
Lean from smoking.
But they said, they're like, if we start letting you go into the cage and playing with it, like don't just stop coming back, because then it'll be sad that you never came back. Like it once you know, so
loyalty.
So start coming like they're
Ease
like
your way off like citalopram.
Wean 'em.
or just keep coming and keep volunteering, and you'll help us
This is how
and the
they try
animals.
to trick you
I think
into
this is
staying
a
there.
lie. That's what I told PDMs. I say, if you cancel your goddamn membership
You're
to
gonna
our
kill us of a
show,
broken heart.
I will cry.
Yeah.
So they told me that, and I was like, yeah. And then I was playing with the wolf and with the rope toys. Hour number 100 never came back.
Oh.
Did you ever check up on him?
Never checked up.
They
Never.
said in the chat room, first of all, Grady Seasons wants you to show the camera your wolf tattoo, bro. Oh, that's funny, Grady. Oh, man, you're funny. And then somebody else said that he might as well have put Malachi down because for sure he died of a broken heart days later.
Oh.
Wow.
No, he interacted with some other people there. Like he liked the
none of
owner.
those juggalos could work the hose like Van could.
It's fine.
Get out of there. You're no fan.
Probably Malachi's no longer exists, I would imagine. Although I think they live in captivity for a long time, and I think it was only like
Cut that out.
it was like 6 years old or something. So I don't know how
man.
old wolves live. Probably like 13.
You're more of a wolf guy than you are a dog guy, right? Because doesn't your family want a dog?
Yeah, although
Why don't you try to get him to get a wolf? Like Butler's got sort of a wolf hybrid style Siberian, gorgeous looking animal. Why don't you get one of those?
let me ask you this: if
They last 14 years.
okay, all right. So
what if he's still there? And
not still
do you
there,
think
no.
if like that? Remember
This
that
was 15 plus years ago.
No, it was right on the brink of 14. He's still there.
Yeah, what if he's still there and like just like those guys that met that lion when they were young boys and lived in Africa,
Oh, yeah, I
and then
remember.
then they come back and the lions are like, "Wait a minute, is that you, Jerry?" And they're hugging.
You do a Malachi reunion
Yeah,
and we
and then
film
you
it.
get there and I hand you the hose and you're like, "One more again?" And I'm like, "One more again." And he's spraying, Malachi's jumping, but he's old by now. He's like ripping your throat out. He's mad.
Dementia.
And I'm like, this is a bad idea. And I'm driving from the
He
rescue.
bit the hose.
I'm driving from this place. My friend is dead. I got to figure out what to tell the listeners.
Yeah. And I talk a big game, and I say I can fight a wolf, but it easily rips my throat out
it's
really
bad.
fast.
Yeah.
Even though it's old
Oh, it's
wolf.
really fast because he goes right for your throat.
Yeah.
And you didn't think that because you weren't listening.
yeah. And then I'm too busy with the hose.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
I was like, it's biting my throat. And then it bites
Why
it.
would it do that?
And then one bite, and that's it.
Yeah, it is a one-chomp scenario.
Like once your throat is completely crushed and bitten, they can't save you.
Yeah, they can't.
There's no way.
It's like that. It's like that one lady on Tiger King got her arm bitten off.
Yeah. Well, at least the arm was like you could live through that, but the throat is
No.
not. You're not coming back from that, bro.
You can't live through the throat.
No.
It's a shame too.
Yeah, they
I
can't
feel like
even-
they should have reinforced that area a little bit.
Get a cage or something. Oh, a Tom and Dan neck brace.
Yeah, Tom and Dan neck
Right.
brace.
That's
to
right.
protect me against
Yeah.
Malachi.
Oh, there it is. There. Oh no.
All right.
I got another voicemail.
Let's do a voicemail.
I got more. Hold on. Let's try this one.
Yo, BDM Neil, let me turn the air down. BDM Neil here, dude. I'm resonating so much. Now, I didn't do a dance competition, but it was a recital for my daughter, and there were definitely some dads that were just there to be there on that end, which was pretty sad. But just like Daniel, I teared up, and I was like, oh, my daughter's dancing for the first time. It was absolutely amazing. So, but yeah, no, I totally feel you. It definitely dampers the mood, and then they're also trying to stand in front of me.
Yeah, it was.
It is funny, and I think this is guys are wired like this, where if they can't hide the fact that they don't want to be somewhere or they're doing stuff.
You can. You're pretty good about it.
Yeah, but I want to be there. Yeah.
That goes into your superpower, though. No, even at stuff you don't want to do, you can compartmentalize that better than almost anybody I've ever seen, and you're just there. And you're getting through it.
I don't like complaining because
Yeah,
I don't
you're
like
not-
making people feel bad. So
Not
this
a
is
complainer.
I don't want to make either my wife or the people I'm there to watch or whatever, anybody around me. I don't want to, because I know people, and Samantha, tell me if you know some people like this, where they'll do things but just complain the entire time about how they hate it or be miserable, and then it's like, well, you're ruining it for everybody now because you're like, and even their like body expression and their arms are crossed, and then you're like, Why'd you come if you're
Right.
miserable? Because you're
Yeah.
making everybody bummed out.
That stuff's infectious, man.
Yeah, quit.
Energy jumps off of people.
Quit. Like, you're here. There's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
Just make the best of it.
Yeah, that's
Get a
what
beer.
that's what I try to
Take
do.
a
Get
weed
beer.
gummy. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'd love to know why people do that. Because if I don't want to do something or go somewhere,
Andrea
I just
explained it
don't.
to me. So
Unless I'm forced to.
Andrea explained it to me. Andrea
Yeah,
explained to me that it's a dysfunction in the. Okay, so
Do
some
they
of the
think they're going to enjoy it? And then
no,
they
they're-
want to
they're-
tell everybody that they're mad.
There is a part of that factors into it, but their wife wants them to go.
Sure.
They don't want to go. Their relationship is already strained in certain areas because this is the sort of thing.
Or
where,
it's like, if
where-
you're making me go, I'll show you. I'll be
Right.
in a bad mood
Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
time.
yes,
Ah.
which doesn't really help you or the nothing. It helps
Yeah.
nothing.
Like, you're still there, and somehow you're not making your wife happy.
Right.
So it's like, you idiot.
That's why I said it
like,
would be
you're doing
better.
two bad things now. You'd be better just to stay home.
Yeah, it would be better of you to say, "Look, I know you're going to be really mad at me for saying this, but if I go, I'm going to act poorly around you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not going, and
You
then
know-
you can yell at me later." But
I've been guilty of
most
this.
people will not say that. Most people will not say that because it means more for you to actually go. But then once you get in there, you're not strong enough to do what Tom can do, which is to not complain.
Yes, but I've been guilty of this before, and it's a baby move, and
I
feel
do it. I think everybody does
I
it.
feel
Yeah.
embarrassed that I've done this, but I've done it at theme parks because I hate going so much.
Okay.
You're huffing and puffing around.
And I just
yeah.
put my head down. I'm pushing
a lot
the
of
stroller.
dads do that at Disney.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just huffing and puffing, mad the whole time. And then Chris is like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fine." And she can tell I
Yeah.
can't even hide it because I'm so upset that I'm there that I literally can't hide it. But it's like, come on,
Power
you big
through,
baby.
yeah.
Like you can't
That's
have
the
fun at a
important
theme
part,
park.
right? Is if you recognize it, try and change it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you
And I
That's the
do-
most positive thing you said on the show.
And
I
I'm like,
that.
"You're such a baby. You can't even have fun at a theme
That's
park."
my new
Like-
one. My new one for me is to think of I do this with workouts too. Like, where if I don't want to work out, I'll talk to myself like this. I'll be like, "So you mean to tell me
Yeah.
that you can't get on this exercise bike
Oh, yeah.
and bust your ass for 30 minutes? You can't do it for 30 minutes?
Right.
You're a piece of trash."
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
I would do it. That's what I tell myself. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"You are the worst.
You're so
30
weak.
minutes.
Yeah. I tell myself,
Do 30 minutes?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't do that."
Yeah, I do it with food too, like where
Yeah.
I'm like, "You're gonna eat this, you weak POS." Like, you're such a P word.
We're so
Like,
similar and so
Like,
different
you
at the
can't,
same time.
Yo, you want your hamburger, you little baby? Just eat the garbage that you hate, because that's what's good for
But
you.
then sometimes I get so drunk, I'm like, "Drink another White Claw."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, drink it so you're sick, you baby. Drink that White Claw. You're going to smoke this whole pack of cigarettes, you fool. It's like that, you know?
Oh yeah, I'll do it to whatever I want, really.
Yeah. I just basically talk to myself in that voice at all times.
That can't be good.
It's fine.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha and Butler are here. I hear Butler in the fridge. What you cooking in there, buddy? Oh, he's getting
Oh,
one of
there you
those
go.
AHA waters.
Yeah.
You don't like
Okay.
those as much as
Yeah,
you like.
no, I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Because you're probably drink the most sparkling water of anybody on the show.
I like bubbly. I like
Bubbly has taken over LaCroix. LaCroix to me.
LaCroix is good though too. Like I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't like the branding LaCroix has.
I don't either.
I don't like I like the shirt. Sam got me a holler at your boy, like novelty LaCroix shirt.
Yeah.
I love that shirt, but I don't like the LaCroix branding as much as Bubbly.
I'll get whatever's on sale now. So whenever they do a BOGO, I'll just buy that brand. It's all
Right.
the same, Like so.
And then like Sam and Butler shamed me for buying Polar because aren't they owned by the Nestle Corporation and they're terrible?
I don't
or something,
I don't
or-
know
well,
either.
Bubbly's
But
owned by
Butler
Coke.
always tries to interject his own some sort of
political agenda.
into
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
I'm buying, and
Yeah.
I'm damn tired of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's
Kidding,
good.
I'm totally kidding.
Here's a little THC sitting on your back porch secret.
Oh,
There is I think it's a Polar flavor, and it's creamsicle.
yes.
And I think the Polar creamsicle, if you are have the correct amount of sativa THC in your system, and you have a creamsicle Polar,
Oh.
it's the best thing in the world. Like you said, you're like, I am drinking a creamsicle. It's good, real good. Anyway, let's do some emails.
All right, Sam, what you got?
Hello, Tom, Dan, Sam, and British B-Cups. Today I received my second love note with a rose from my Instacart shopper. Each note was a first-time shopper for each. Both were female. Has anyone else had this experience before? Is there some kind of customer rating that shoppers can see in orders? I tend to tip very well since they are covering my laziness, but my wife is starting to think I have some kind of Instacart harem forming as I put the cards on the refrigerator. I'll stop typing and watch on Twitch. Tactical Hat.
Yay, Tactical.
He's getting love letters and roses from his Instacart shoppers.
Yes, and this is I've seen this happen before.
I have yet to experience
I've
this.
never had that.
No, me neither.
So here's my theory with these peer-to-peer services that like the Uber style. I'm gonna
your air
delivery
freshener
service
is too strong and your water's warm.
Well, just like anything, when something comes out like Instacart, this happened with Uber too. The people like get into it because they want to try it out, right? And it seems like with Instacart and the grocery store shoppers, like there's a lot of like it seemed to be maybe bored moms that got into it first and then look for like part-time jobs.
They are
get
younger
out of the house.
now. I will report back. My Instacart person is younger
the
now.
Beginning, it seemed like, and I'm talking about like maybe a couple years ago, there were a lot more middle-aged moms that seemingly got into it, and when they got into it, they took it more seriously and like went gun-ho. So like they would leave the notes, they would give the extra customer service and stuff, and so they would do the same thing with Uber and the
stuff
waters.
They would do when they were selling noni juice and when they were on Beachbody and all this.
It's another part-time.
All the same things. They'd be like, well, it worked for Mary Kay, or it worked for,
So they'd give little gifts to their customers, and like they do this above and beyond thing, right? And so you got like this extraordinarily good customer service from people you wouldn't expect, because you're like, wait a minute, this Instacart shopper, I'll tip them $5 or whatever it is, but that's a lot of like I'm getting a rose and a note and
that's cutting into the tip
for how much, but they didn't care, because a lot of these people were doing it not for the bottom dollar to get out of the house, to get, you know what I'm saying? So you get that. But then, of course, just like everything, it starts like being taken over by people who need the money, right? And then they're not giving any GD roses
they're
or
barely
notes.
getting any money from Instacart.
They're not even getting your order right.
Right.
They don't give a damn because they are poor and starving and they're struggling, right? So that's then. Now you get the Uber driver that you're just like, where am I? Like, and then they, air condition off because they don't want to waste the gas, and they're, an older car.
I hate that. If you're an Uber or Lyft driver and you put your windows down and
they
don't
need every penny because they're
my
struggling.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those.
So
luckily, I pooped myself, so I held my underwear out the window.
Dude, I remember getting and being Ubered by a gigantic F-350 diesel truck that I rode in the back of, and then I was like, why the hell is this guy? And he was just doing it because he wanted to do it,
just
right?
Bored?
Yeah, because he wanted to experience it. And that, like, I remember going in a BMW. I remember going in a Hummer one time in Uber. Like, weird cars that because people were just trying it out. They didn't care about the money. Like, they were just wanted to Uber, and then they got bored of it after a month and then never did it again. And now you end up with the worst possible cars and the people that are struggling.
I don't like the ones where you get into the Uber and they basically turn their back seat into a taxi, where they've taped like signs on their seats. And I'm like, this is a trash hole. I don't want to be this. I want to sit.
Like, why are you turning it into a taxi? This whole thing was to get away from taxis.
Yeah, it was to like make me feel better about like you got riding with a stranger.
See, I don't mind getting into a taxi. It's just the pricing. At one point, it was a lot cheaper to do the peer-to-peer, but now it's almost getting to be the same price.
Yeah, well, it seems like every one of these companies' plans are make something extraordinarily cheap to get the entire civilization addicted to using it, and then slowly increase the price, right? Like that's been. I listened to some podcasts about AOL. And at the beginning, like to make a CD and print one and mail one and something, like all that went into it was like $60 per customer to get them a CD and stuff like at the very beginning.
So it was expensive.
It was super expensive,
Yeah.
but their whole thing was it doesn't matter. This will all pay off as soon as everybody's using AOL because then we have the whole community. Obviously, that it didn't work in the long term, but at a time, everybody had AOL.
It would change into something else, right? I mean, it's not like that money went, they pivoted and became whatever they are now.
So you make the entire civilization use Uber because it's so much cheaper, and then you slowly increase the prices because now who's calling a taxi ever again? Nobody.
I haven't used Uber in a long time. I haven't used Lyft ever. I've never used Lyft. I'm surprised there's not a third one either. I'm sure there is at some point.
I've used them both, and
certain cities do have other options, but Orlando doesn't yet.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like between Uber or Lyft, my Uber account got basically suspended, and now
What'd you do, bro? Puke in the back of an Uber?
No, he got locked out of it or something. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Well, I got locked out of it, and now every time I go through the hassle of like, all right, I'm gonna re-verify my account, they're like, what was your two last Uber trips?
Oh my God, who's gonna remember that?
And it was years ago, and then I'm like, I'm not gonna go back and start looking through bank account receipts and like. I don't even
go to Lyft.
I went to Lyft.
That's what he did.
Yeah,
he just went to Lyft.
But it screwed me up because it's also I can't use Uber Eats because that's attached to your Uber account, and so now I have to use DoorDash.
Put it in your wife's name.
What about Lyft's Eats? Where's that? Lyft don't want to get in the food game?
I think they use because I see
like
now
DoorDash.
Right.
Whatever happened to that one that
Grubhub?
Yeah, what was the one that was local? They advertised with me when I was still on the radio station.
Is it Bite Squad or something?
No, it was a local one. They used to work with like Johnny's and a few other
the small one.
It was a small one. It was before like this was like a thing. They only had it in like bigger cities like Chicago and LA and New York and stuff like that.
There's been a bunch of other ones like
I'm not into those places, man. I don't really do it.
No,
because the only times I've ever used it, the food. And maybe this is my own, I've created this like myth in my brain, but getting the food delivered by the restaurant to me seems like fine. Getting it delivered by like a Grubhub or any of that kind of stuff or Postmates seems very like a middleman, which it is.
It is, yeah.
But then to me, I'm like, and
I've only double paying.
And I've only had their food a couple times. I've only done it like a couple times, and the food, and I'm going to guess that I projected this. This is not a real thing. I feel like the food is colder.
It is, because they get multiple orders and then they drop them off on their routes.
Yeah, so I'm not into it because of that fact. I just don't like cold food. I got, both times I got it was like kind of like a sandwichy type scenario. And the fries were like that weird, like wet, where they've been sitting in the thing for like a very long time and built condensation. I'm like, I'm out.
It's a gamble.
It is.
Because like sometimes it works really well and you get it faster than you thought. And sometimes they have multiple orders. I mean, you could pay extra. No one does it because you're like, screw that, I'm not paying the extra to get it like faster. And then your guy like or girl that's delivering it will go to other places. You'll see their car like, why are you stopping there?
Yeah.
And
but they kind of have to make it worth their while.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like why else would they do it?
And then it's too far gone because you've already paid and tipped, so you're basically you have no the recourse after that because it's like, well, I wait for it. Like there's no canceling it now. It's like it's too hard.
We've only done it for a few things that were like
weird
all the time, and couldn't be delivered, but yeah, I just feel like it's colder. So, and this is my wife. This is not me. She is all about saving the money. She's just thrifty. So if there's a delivery fee, I will scream at her to get it delivered. She will say no, and she'll go pick it up. She loves picking things up.
Now, does she factor in? Because I've thought about this too, and I always justify everything by the amount of time and effort it takes, and then I'm like, how much would someone have to pay me to do this?
Yeah,
and then I do that math, and then I always just pay whatever. Because
hers is twofold. She likes to be able. She thinks, much like you guys do share a level of confidence. She thinks that she can get there and back to our house faster than any delivery driver, so the meal will be warmer.
Okay, yeah.
She also feels like if she goes there, she can eagle eye what's in the bag and make sure that it's a correct order before she gets back.
Fair points.
That's why I always get out argued, because I don't really have an argument against that, other than I'd really just rather her stay with me and hang out.
But the math I do is like, how much would someone have to pay me to go to the store, wait, check the bag, pick up the stuff, drive back, and so and then it always is more than I'm paying the person. So that's how I do it.
I could see that. I think she sees the value in it being correct.
Yeah.
And it being warmer. It has more value than so what would I have to be paid? So let's say you paid $17 to get it delivered and it's all wrong. Well, do you take that? Do you add that on and say that you spent more because now you paid more and you got
it's
bad food?
It's only like when it's all said and done like $7 because they get a small percentage and then you tip $5. Really, that's the standard. And then so it's really like $7 more to get it delivered to you. So for me, convenience wise, is so much better.
Yiddle in the Twitch chat room. That is an excellent point. Yiddle says, and she, meaning my wife, is a young mom and she just wants a moment of peace. That's probably factors in too. And that, my friends, is priceless.
The escape scenarios of
I think all parents have that. Dads get a little bit more because dads take bowel movements, like long, drawn-out bowel movements. Women do not typically take, unless you're Melissa McCarthy, long, drawn-out bowel movements. I'm only saying that because of that Bridesmaids movie. I don't know how Melissa McCarthy takes poops. But I'm just saying, that's a men thing. Women don't do that. But she'll get in the car and, put on NSYNC and drive around in circles and then go get our food.
Yeah. Let's do an email.
Okay. Edibles. I had an odd experience with edibles and was wondering if this has happened to any of you or if you've heard of such a thing. I was at a friend's house and they offered me an edible. I've never tried edibles. I used to smoke daily for several years, wake and bake, and then all day until bed. But I quit about 12 to 15 years ago due to fear of random drug testing with a new job. He gave me 2 gummies and said only take one at a time. That should be plenty. I ate one, then drove home expecting it to kick in at some point shortly after I got home. Well, I got home and waited and nothing happened. I've heard stories about people not waiting long enough and taking more and then everything kicks in at once and they go Looney Tunes. So I was cautious, but my impatience then took over.
No, you weren't.
I heard the stories and then I then sat there for 5 more minutes.
No, you said I was cautious. No, you were not. You could have just put that out of your email. You didn't need to say that.
I waited all freaking night. Nothing ever happened. I'm not sure what went wrong. They were definitely weed gummies. I could taste a hint of weed as I ate them. I'm not sure if my anticipation for finally getting stoned again ruined the high, or did I just get bum gummies?
Were these medical, or were these all in the bag? Because if they're all in the bag, then you got the 2 gummies that got no juice on.
Any help on this matter is greatly appreciated.
And
Tom and I have been yelling about this for the last 10 years.
Yeah, you're getting some stuff from California or Colorado or wherever other state they manufacture. You got it from your dealer. Are you getting stuff from local? Because I tell you what, the age of them too, they wear off. Like
there's fresher like a half-life on them.
The fresher they are, the more potent they are.
Yeah, it's just like beer. It's to me, it's exactly like a great local beer. Get it fresh.
So if someone's giving you some weed gummies that they got from California a year ago, and they had in their closet, and they've been sitting there, and the package has been open and closed and whatever, and they've just been exposed to the air for months and months. I think their power gets diluted. I've seen that before. I've taken a weed gummy that didn't do anything.
Yeah,
but I've also taken one that blew my shoes off.
Oh yeah, I took a 50 milligram.
That's why it's better to just go to True Leaf and get exactly fresh what you know. You know, this is 10 milligrams. This is 8 milligrams.
It's better to know. But even then, based on your own body chemistry, what you've consumed that day, you don't know when it's going to hit you. I took a 50 milligram regulated medical marijuana pill. And then was going to a concert. We went to dinner. I think we ended up going to like Wolfgang Puck's beforehand to eat something, and I ate a high fat content and I'm sitting there watching Rob Thomas, and my wife likes Rob Thomas, and I swear to God I was becoming Rob Thomas. We were melting into each other.
Dude, that happened to me.
That fat will light a fuse on it sometimes.
I got some it
was butter.
Some local meat, like some beef. Seriously.
I got some local meat.
Remember when I took the boys to go 4-wheel riding at our buddy's cattle ranch or whatever?
Absolutely. Oh, you got some real Florida meat.
Well, they gave me some T-bones.
There
but
you
they-
go. With some marbling in it.
Also some ground beef, but they were from their steer, right? Like their cattle.
Yeah, this ain't that lean. You
Right.
don't want lean. You
And
want the stuff that tastes
Full
good.
fat.
Dude,
Yes.
I made
Would
some
you make a
like-
Mondo burger?
No, some pasta sauce, but I made it. I like browned the
So
the
meat
ground
sauce.
beef.
Yeah.
Yeah, meat sauce.
Yeah,
Dude,
bolognese.
I'm not joking. I thought there was something wrong with it because it was so fatty. Like the fat content was 10 times the fat content.
It's just real ground beef. It's not ground.
Yeah.
Ground like chuck.
Like yeah, like it was so fatty that like when I put the leftovers in the refrigerator,
separated,
it all
yeah.
white, like
Oh, yeah.
a gelatinous fat over the top, like formed like
So
millimeters
That means
thick.
it's delicious.
So it was delicious.
Yeah.
Not good for your arteries,
No.
but man,
No.
it's tasty.
But man, like I took my normal dose
To
of
the
THC
moon, Dogecoin.
and I ate that fatty like,
beef?
meat sauce, and I was higher than ever. I got freaked out. I was like, ding, and I was like, I was pretending to be fine. I was like. Thinking about how the universe worked and solving all the problems, but immediately forgetting.
You want a fun fact? You want a fun fact?
Like-
Juan says that's a preservative technique. He says a preservation technique. He said that sauce will stay good forever if the fat cap is intact. I don't know if that's true or
really?
not, but that's an interesting fun fact.
It was way fattier, but dude,
But getting real butchered meat
Yeah.
off of a cow that somebody owns, like I honestly like that's the way to go, man.
Yeah.
Like it's so good.
But if you have something real fatty like that in THC,
It'll get
you'll
you.
get way higher, like 5 times higher, like that much difference. Like it
It
is
weird.
potent.
It is-
5% better.
Yeah, it really is, though, man. And plus, you're eating steak.
Look at the science behind it. It's the way your liver processes fat, and since you got the THC in your stomach already, and this is with eating it. I have no idea if this works the same with smoking it. But when your liver's processing that fat or whatever, it's putting more THC in your bloodstream
Makes
than
sense.
normal,
Yeah.
and you get high.
It absorbs it, and then it becomes the vessel, I believe.
Yeah. So if you take edibles on an empty stomach and then don't eat, you won't get as high. Like
I think that's true.
Yeah, no,
like-
I've had it before where I've taken something. It's been a day where I was fasting, or we were busy here, and I didn't get to eat, and you don't feel much of nothing.
It's the opposite of drinking.
Yeah,
If
it
you
is.
drink on an empty
Yes,
stomach, you
yeah.
get more drunk.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
And-
it hurts my stomach. Like I
Yeah.
start to get a little, like, ugh, it hurt. Like I start to
Bellyache.
feel sour.
But
you
then,
know?
like 5 hours later, you could eat something high fat and then be like, "Ding!"
Yo,
Like,
yeah,
it
I've
comes
done
back.
that. I've made that
You're
mis-
like, it was in there.
No,
it just
you
need
know-
to be.
Yeah, it was in the reserves.
You know what you need to
lit.
be careful with if it's in the reserves? I'm telling you, it's sneaky because of a high fat content. Custard. You know, like ice cream. With
I don't know that I've ever eaten custard in my
it's
life.
more fat. It's ice cream. It's just ice cream.
Yeah,
But it's fattier ice cream. And you eat that, and you'll be sitting there. Next thing you know, you're walking around Altamont Mall, and you're bang!
yeah.
Where am I? You're running towards Aunt
That's
Auntie's.
the worst when it hits you when you're out in public.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you ride the lightning. I'm with Daniel. You
I
start.
almost passed out.
I'm not proud of it, but I'll tell you. Last night on our way to La Fiesta, my daughter's favorite
Delicious.
Mexican restaurant, and I'm driving, and bang! And I look at Andrea and I go, "We got a fire drill, and we're at a stoplight." And I go, "I cannot drive this vehicle safely." and we had a fire drill, and
I
Maisie,
never drive
and
after
Maisie
edibles.
goes, "What's a fire drill?" Well, I didn't think anything was going to happen.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
You didn't time it. Yeah,
I didn't
it hit
time
you
it
wrong.
right. Yeah, it hit
I don't
me-
even take a chance.
And I just looked at Andrea and I go, "This is you, dog." And we fire drilled. And Maisie's like, "What's a fire drill?" I left out the other part. You're not allowed to say that part.
yeah.
Good old American fire drill.
Bye.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Dan.
I'm Tom.
Samantha's here. Butler's here. I'm just done even questioning what I say because my memory's so far gone now that
Yeah.
if I really look inside my brain, I'm going to start to spiral. I'm going to start to...
Don't look inside.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to look inside.
Yeah.
I'm actually learning from you.
Don't look at it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Because what's it going to do? It's not going to do anything good.
You know when they blow your guts out, on the shores of war.
Well, I've never fought for
Yeah.
our
No,
great
no,
country.
yeah.
And hats off to anybody who does.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you for your service. I am not that brave, but I do, yes, I have heard tales of the horrifitic.
Don't look down at it.
No, just keep running.
Yeah. No, you can't
Just
run.
keep swimming. Finding Nemo 2.
That was one.
Oh, was it one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but like Dory, though, was 2, right?
Yes.
She was the big...
Yeah.
Boy, is that going to
Finding
get
Dory.
canceled? Is that going to get canceled because Ellen is like sad
Nah.
fish now? She's
No.
pout fish, right? She looks very sad now.
She's fine. She's
Well, I know
millionaire.
she's fine, but she still looks.
Yeah. She didn't do anything.
No, you can look at her face right now. Arguably, Ellen's whole facial, like every face she makes on television now is a 180 difference to me than when before we knew that the culture surrounding her show was toxic. I can see it. She's
just
wearing it on her face.
a business D-head.
No, but I can see it now. I can see the grimaces. I can see. I look. Maybe that's just me projecting and looking at her in a whole
She
new
knows
light.
it's coming to an end.
It
I
feels
think.
like it.
She's
Yeah.
riding it.
I happen to
riding it
watch
out.
that Game of Games show that she does, where she's got her DJ guy on there too. That Twitch guy. He's cool. And then like she's doing the thing, and every game she ran, I'm looking at her and I'm like, you hate this. You're mad because we figured it out. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like she's grumpy because the world figured her out.
We're just projecting that, though. She's still the same person. It's just behind the scenes. She puts on. That's what America. They don't want it to be an act, and we can't accept it. That's what this whole thing is about.
I
It's
can
like,
accept it. I just honestly believe I can look into her eyes and see. It's kind of like the thing I tell you about John Krasinski, and I can look into him and tell that just somewhere deep down inside there's something entirely horrible and sinister that no one else can see. No. I didn't say there was proof of that. I said this is something that I can see. Maybe I'm just not coming into my powers. You know, I turned 45 this year. Maybe at 45 I achieve my full destiny, which is to be able to fully see people for who they are with my power eyes.
Yeah. And it seems like it only affects Ellen's particular audience because anybody else outside of, like, I never watched that daytime show. I don't care.
I've caught it a couple times. It's fine.
I don't give a damn whether she's a bitch to her employees or whatever. It just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And then so when I hear that, I'm like, oh, fine, whatever. She's a business bitch and she treats her employees like S. Who cares? Like, I'm not her employee, so what do I care?
Yeah,
But
I don't care about that either. I'm
fans-
just saying I can see it.
Yeah, the fans of the show, though, bought into her on-air persona, which is bubbly and nice, and then I think that's why so much backlash happened, because they felt betrayed.
You hoodwinked
by
us.
which is stupid, because, like, what do you think anybody's portraying when they're on TV or a personality or whatever? They're portraying what they want or what their character
we're not
or
always
personality.
like this.
Yeah. So,
That'd be ridiculous.
well, some days you have bad days, and some days there's a million different things.
But you never let them see you sweat.
No, because you're a presenter, you're a personality on a show or whatever. Your character's one way. It's like these hosts and stuff, they are playing the character of themselves. And so I think people get confused by that because...
Did she go out of her way at any point, you feel like, to make us feel like that it was authentic?
Well, yeah, of course, because that's her job. She needs to make her personality feel authentic for her ratings to be successful, because
more authentic than not, or not?
No,
Hers.
what she portrayed on the air and
well,
her
like
personality.
us, we exaggerate, I think, an element. Like our personalities, you and I and Sam and Butler, all of our personalities are, I would like to think, are pretty dead
authentic.
on.
Yes,
but we right before we do this, it almost feels like we just whip ourselves a little bit, and it's just a spicier version of that.
Yes,
that's what it feels like.
But we weren't forced, which I assume she was, by a corporation to pretend to be someone she's not, which I think happened to her because when she started, listen, like, when did she start? In the early 2000s or her show?
The talk show? Yeah.
So at that time, there was less tolerance towards lesbian women.
Oh,
so
yeah.
for
she had a tough road.
Rosie O'Donnell had to do it too. Like, they are like, don't mention that you're, don't mention you're gay.
Don't be
hide
who you
that.
really are, and then still work your way up the ladder as a woman.
I'm sure
God.
either Rosie came up with it, which is brilliant, or the network did, to pretend like she had a crush on Tom Cruise as part of it, because like, that'll endear you to all the Midwestern moms that are watching you.
Wrong. I got that one, the Rosie O'Donnell thing, wrong.
What's that?
Well, I didn't think her love for koosh balls was authentic. I did think her love for Tom Cruise was authentic.
Can we do Tom and Dan koosh balls? Let's bring her back. The 90s are back.
I'm going to tell you right now, those things are expensive.
Are they?
Disney has actual Disney brand koosh balls now at the parks that you can get, and Maisie wanted one. It's a Minnie Mouse one, and I got her one.
Yeah, but
that's a $17 ball all day long, Sam. That's a high dollar ball.
Wow.
You get the knockoff Chinese ones.
Boosh.
And yeah, I mean, they'll call it koosh. They don't care because they just steal every
Boosh
copyright. But it's like, they were forced to pretend to be someone they're not. And maybe, of course, they wouldn't be a dick. Oh, God.
You can say that.
Yeah. But they wouldn't be a D-head. I guess I can say
you can't say
no.
Actually, you cannot say they'll be a dick. Oh God!
Do I have to cut any of this out? I don't know.
What are you doing over there? You're acting like a dick. Oh God! That's totally fine to say. We made up that word.
It's but anyway, I think she was pushed that way, and then after years, then because social media and no
she could
secret,
just be naturally not a good person.
Yeah,
I think in real life.
I mean, that could be.
No.
But I don't know her. I don't want to speak on that.
But her, if she's a host, she's not gonna be that way
Right,
as a host because
The whole time
don't watch it.
You know who is though? Bill Maher. That guy is a D-head on his show, but. So is he a D-head on a show and in real life?
Oh, there are plenty of people
love
that are.
watching him.
There are plenty of people that are
men
both.
can do it.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
both.
I guess, yeah.
Because
When I worked for-
it's sexist, really, that we're even giving S to Ellen DeGeneres to begin with, because we wouldn't do this to dudes.
No.
And we wouldn't force dudes to be bubbly or different personality
I'd agree with
as
that.
much.
Yeah, no,
like, you could be a D-head
and you don't
host.
have to hide as much as a man.
David
That's
Letterman,
fair.
D-head.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide as much. That's true. That's true. It's infinitely harder for women just out of the gate. I worked for a guy who was both on the air was abrasive and off the air abrasive. Mm-hmm. And he works here in town still. And I won't say his name because he's on another station. Doesn't matter.
Well, but that's fine because
he was authentic.
Your audience is not being like, wait a minute, you're not like this in real life, and that's what she's getting the backlash.
Yeah.
I've said this before. It's like it's not. I feel bad for her.
I do not.
Just because I feel like this situation.
She had a good run.
No, it's fine. I don't really care.
I know what he means.
But I'm just saying,
like
I feel like it's not a fair shake, which nothing is in life, but it's like everybody's, and they lump her in, which sucks. They lump her into cancel culture. Like she did something like some atrocity, like a Matt Lauer or something like that, and I feel bad. I'm like,
she did that.
Don't lump her into a monster category. You know what I'm saying? Like Matt.
I don't know all the allegations, so I won't.
But none of
comment.
them are sexual.
There were sexual harassment, but I don't think she did it. But people that she worked with did, and supposedly she was aware and did nothing to stop
normally
it.
it's just around the culture of the
I'm
thing.
just saying, but
she's at the top.
But
there you go.
It sucks to get lumped into, the Harvey Weinsteins and the Laurers of the
I get
world.
lumped
that
into
are
you guys. I hate it.
Well, I'm just saying, it's
I'm way cooler.
It's just a business bitch, and then
that does sound cool. When you say that, though, it sounds cool.
I'm gonna rewrite that Britney song.
Not that it is what it is.
Cool. There's a lady on Instagram that's kind of like that. She's like this business lady, and she's like, I'm a businessman, and it's kind of cool. I kind of like it.
You can be the biggest D-head in the world and be open about it. And look at the guy from Barstool Sports. He made an entire.
He's authentic. Yeah.
He's made $100 million off of being authentic D-head, and his audience wants that, and he perpetuates it more on interviews and tells them. And his audience
He
is
leans
better.
in. He leans in
because that's what they want. If he was the opposite, or what I'm saying, that's when they attack you, and then your show's done. Because
but old school people like Ellen tend to not lean in. And she's not going to.
Well, she can't because her personality.
It's not authentic.
Yeah, they were mad. Her audience is gone because it's not who she portrayed, and that's all it's about.
Absolutely true. If there was ever an argument for try to be your authentic self, that's it.
It's like we would lose our entire audience if they found out that we were not who we portrayed. No, but we don't have to worry about it because we're not putting on an act or whatever. But if people found out,
I'm actually quite tall.
We were D-heads that cheated on their wives, that didn't really hang out with their kids.
Would ruin you?
Our audience would be, they wouldn't stay.
Yeah, actually, I think
because they would be like, you lied to us the whole time. You're a-holes.
He's right. actually
Of course they
think
leave.
that's 100% accurate.
People
Yeah.
want real.
As much as our guys like for us to big talk, and as much as they like the, the kind of the run amok.
Well, we can make jokes all
Yeah,
day
we
long.
can make jokes all day long, but I do think that I'd probably get some really nasty emails from people, because I've had people email me saying that they like or they admire the fact that we care about our families, and that you say stuff like that.
Well, who doesn't? Like
There are plenty of people that hate their families.
Yeah.
I know.
But I know what you mean.
No, but I'm saying there are plenty of people. Yes, they hate their families. But who admires that? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like nobody.
Norm in the Twitch chat said Tom could shoot someone in the middle of the street and he'd still be on
Well,
Tom's team.
Yeah, well, that's Norm.
Listen, there's still, believe me, there's still people that will follow Ellen DeGeneres and like her, and then will not stop watching her.
Yeah.
And I bet the majority.
I hope
but,
she goes back to stand-up, actually, because her stand-up, like, when she was just riffing, before any of this, when she was, like, straight out of Louisiana stand-up, there may not have been anybody better at the time. She
course.
crushed.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
a monster.
She said she's going to look for something to challenge her, so we'll see.
Maybe go back into stand-up, because when you're unbridled, you're amazing.
Also, when you own your own stuff, you can't get canceled. So it's like if she put on her own show and it wasn't like she works for a giant corporation, so they're for sure. Even if they got 20% of the audience backlash, they're just going to get rid of her, because that's what corporations do. They get scared. It's like, oh, I'll get rid of her. I mean, 80% of her audience could still support her and don't care if she's a D-head off the air, but she'll still get fired because the 20% will scare
We
the
got an
corporation.
update from the chat room. Ellen is apparently developing a show with Pudge.
Wow, Ellen and Pudge, huh?
Yeah, I would watch that. You got any emails over there?
I do.
I had the intense urge to call you Sammy.
Interesting.
How does that rate?
It's nothing to me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Would you be mad at me though if I said, "What kind of emails you got over there, Sammy?" It sounded just like, didn't it? Sound like kind of cool?
No,
Maybe
no.
not.
All right, Dan and Tom, Trav and Sam. Just a quick message to tell you how much we love your sponsor, Tuffy's in Sanford. It's beautiful, good beer, spaced out. The bartenders are all wearing masks, and we got to see TD Travis sighting. Tell them we went. We told them we went because of your show, and we will be back. And then he posted a photo with TD Travis.
Nice.
Hashtag TD
All right,
Travis.
look at that guy.
I've been seeing a lot of these in the BDM group, and
They
they're pretty great.
TD Travis.
Which Butler said one of the saddest things I've ever heard on our way to Publix today. He said more people have sat and had a beer with the cutout of him than actually him.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that made me feel bad.
The cutout won't talk to you
Yeah.
nonstop.
Oh my God, you just made Sam cluck like a chicken.
Yeah.
Because it's a truth cluck.
Because Travis just sitting
leave
there
him alone.
with
Yeah,
his
the
big
cardboard
thick legs
cutout will shut its goddamn
legs.
yap.
and his big bees.
Yeah.
I like looking at that.
Yeah.
I just I just
it-
can't stand
you
the
know,
stories.
You know how much time I'd spend with my wife if she didn't open her yap? All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I gotta hear the stories, and I know he's making it up
Yeah, a
as he
bunch
goes.
of lies. I used to work at Stonewood Grill. That's a new one I got yesterday.
Yeah. And then he's like making up theories that he has that, like, and he's guaranteeing things that I know that he doesn't know.
I don't know about that. You might want to check how many millions of probiotics you got in your gut. I think you've got poor gut health, Dan.
Yeah, no matter what's wrong with you, Rob, like, I got stage 5. He's like, go see my wife. Look at that.
That's true.
Anything is wrong. Anything. Like, my toenails are
She's a
falling off.
miracle
Go see your
worker.
wife. Go see my wife. I'll set you up an appointment. I'm
She'll
like,
glue it back
Can't
on.
say he's not ride or die because
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wife wouldn't say anybody come see me.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
my wife hates me so much that anybody said like, I really want to laugh today or I'd like some good content. She's like, well, there's no option for you. Good day.
yeah. Anything. I'm like, I need to buy new glasses. Go see my wife. I'm supposed to, like, she an optometrist.
She does everything.
Might.
Yeah,
She
it's
might.
always that. All right, we'll be right back with more corporate time.
Bye bye. It is. Oh,
It's welcome back to you. You're blowing.
I was
I thought
gonna
you were gonna
go.
curse
It
each other out.
is welcome back.
It's a welcome.
It is a welcome back.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, welcome back. We're back.
So, we have some guests on the line. We spent a good 5 minutes embarrassing ourselves.
Well, no, I did.
yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah.
I normally I'm the one I think that I'm the youngest here. So
Why-
the things that come out of my mouth are madcap hilarity. And these guys can't handle it sometimes because they're so stuck in their ways.
No,
All
no.
they want to do is like, get the library out. And I'm like, the kids don't want to say it like that. The kids want the madcap hilarity.
So, speaking of the library, our fine sponsor, OCLS.org, Orange County Library System, is here to tell us about even more.
It's OCLS.info. But,
oh,
I thought that's
God.
what he said.
I said .org, .info.
And then I doubled it. I go,
I know you did. You did.
I was like, let me put an
Ride or
exclamation.
die.
I yell at Daniel,
we're starting over.
Don't say the
We're
big
starting-
butt thing.
no, we're starting
And then I yell, and then I get the website wrong.
Yeah, this is.
I was just gonna ask, did we change? And I'm not sure. I didn't
No.
get the memo.
Man.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, Scotty's gonna. Poor Scotty. And I put him in frame this time so you can hear who we're talking
It's
about.
.info. What's .org that we?
I don't
Orlando
know,
Fringe.
but I
that we've
just-
been doing all
No,
day.
Orlando Fringe.
But
Yeah.
you should be really happy in knowing that no matter what you say, I'll follow you
Yeah,
to hell.
that's true. That's true.
You're right.
No matter what you say, I am loyal, sir. But yeah, our friends from the Orange County Library System are here, and I'm admittedly without the library, without the Orange County Library, I don't know what I would do because my daughter, and I'll brag for a little bit, she hit the 100-book challenge.
All right.
Thanks to you guys. I have to thank you guys for doing that because, you know, we order a lot of books from you guys. And if we didn't and get all those books in, she wouldn't have met her challenge. So she gets to go to Barnes & Noble with her teacher and pick out some books. So thank you guys so much for supplying us with free books.
Yes, and Jelitza Rivera, PhD, is here to talk to us about the language program they have at the Orange County Library System. By the way, Jelitza, the PhD next to your name is an accomplishment so high that when I see it, I'm like, that person accomplished more than I ever will in my entire life. Just because there's just those letters next to your name, I'm
100%.
like, well, that is impressive, and I respect that. So, how you doing, Jelitza?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here.
No problem.
The PhD, I would say it's one of those things where if you hang in there long enough, you can get it done.
That must be how you're feeling about this interview. I can only imagine.
No, you guys are doing great.
Jelitza, I will disagree with you a little bit because me and Daniel, we can hang in there a lot and we'll never get it done.
I mean, honestly, when I was saying that, I was like, how long you want to hang?
Yeah. There's no matter the length of time, me and Daniel will not be able to accomplish a PhD.
That would never happen. But hey, tell us a little bit about how, like us, our listeners, and how people can actually, through you guys, learn a new language.
So we have quite a few things going on at the Library for Languages. We do have virtual classes for those individuals who want to learn English as a second language. If you have a friend that doesn't necessarily speak English, or maybe a neighbor, the classes are absolutely free. We offer a variety of classes from beginner vocabulary development all the way to writing and how do you write an appropriate email at work, how do you write your cover letter, your resume, and presentation skills in English for those non-native speakers, because a lot of times they feel apprehensive about speaking in public or just communicating in general. They have some knowledge, but they feel apprehensive about actually having the output. And then in addition to that, we have Spanish classes for individuals who want to learn Spanish, which actually has taken off because it's a two-part fold. We have individuals who are native speakers of English who want to learn Spanish, and actually we have native speakers of other languages. We have Chinese students taking Spanish classes. We have Haitian students taking Spanish classes.
That's awesome.
And then we have Hispanic people taking Spanish classes because their children who have been born in the United States don't necessarily know the language well enough. So they come to our classes and they learn how to speak their language better.
That's awesome.
Jelitza, let me ask you about a common. I feel it's probably based on some reality, but it becomes an urban legend at some point, and I'll explain. So I put both my sons in a dual language course in their elementary school because I wanted to, they had some base Spanish at the beginning of their lives.
Like an immersion class, right?
Yeah, half of it is being taught in Spanish, so they keep that language up. But you're always told, if you learn it early, it gets ingrained and it's easier for you to for your brain to even learn, or if you have that base at a very young age, then if you go back into it, or it's there and it's easier for you. But if you don't, And like I've always been like told, or the urban legend is, if once you reach like I'm about to be 40, then it's too far. My brain is set in its ways. I'll never be able to learn another language.
There is a misconception that like once you get to a certain age, you just can't learn anymore. And what would you say to that?
That's an absolute misconception, and I battle with that with my students, because a lot of them say, well, I'm too old, I'm learning now, and it's really, really extra hard for me. I'm like, it's not any harder for you than it is for the next person. It takes a lot of time and effort. What will may be a bit more challenging to dominate and really master will be pronunciation. And it's just because biologically, like physically, our bodies are kind of used to, our articulators are used to the way that we move our mouths and tongue and teeth and everything like that to pronounce our native language. So when we have to change that to do a foreign language, it's a little bit more challenging. It's not impossible. There's plenty of studies, and here's where that PhD comes in. There's plenty of studies that actually show that people who really consciously put effort into pronunciation and articulation can dominate that. But grammar and vocabulary can all be learned at any age. It just depends on effort. It depends on, think about it this way. It's kind of with anything in life. If you say, oh, I can't learn this, I can't do this, I can't work out, I can't lose weight. Unfortunately, it turns out that you won't be able to do it because you have so much self-doubt about it. But if you come in with a more positive light and you're like, I can learn this, I can do this, I'm going to, practice these 20 words, or I'm going to practice these phrases, and I'm not going to stop until I dominate it, eventually you will learn.
So it's just about hard work? I don't like that. That's way too hard. I thought, can I take a pill or something? That's all I want.
Now you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, no.
What's funny is I have never thought about this. This is why it's awesome when we have truly educated doctors and professionals on our show, because I've never thought about the physical aspect of speaking a language. I've always thought about the reading and the writing and how difficult that could be. I've never thought about like something like your embouchure, your mouth.
Pronunciation.
Just the pronunciation. Just moving your mouth to make the words is something that's completely foreign to you, which is very, very interesting.
Well, if you're not rolling your R's in Spanish, it's hard to understand, because you're not pronouncing the word correctly, right? So you're not even saying the right word.
I get laughed at because, like,
but
physically,
you could do it.
I can't make certain noises that are needed to execute it properly.
But it's possible to do it. It just work, which we don't like. But
I would say you can get coaching. I have a 15-year-old who, she was born here in the States, and I didn't provide. My youngest daughter does dual language, just like your kids did. My oldest didn't, and so I spent a lot of time teaching her where she had to place her tongue in order to be able to say in Spanish. And it took her a while. And in fact, my youngest daughter would tell her, no, keep your tongue straight. And then you flap up and down. And then eventually my oldest daughter was able to make this sound.
That's so cute.
And truth be told, when you talk about age, once you hit puberty, that's when they say it's technically your cutoff time for pronunciation, but you can still improve your pronunciation if you practice.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Jelitza, it makes sense, and I'm sure, like, just like you said, like, if you put your mind to it and you work hard, you will learn it, right? And it's proven, and like, if you throw someone into a different culture with a different language, they will learn way faster than they ever thought was possible.
Well, you have to adapt.
Because you're forced to learn, right? If like your only means of communication is in this other language, you'll learn it way fast.
Well, it's kind of like our company. I mean, when we started this, we were forced, because we had no other option,
to make money,
make a success out of this. And we did.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of truth to that. But when I hear that, then it just makes me feel lazy because I know what to do.
So, Jelitza, is there any sort of hacks that you teach as far as like maybe a person can kind of immerse themselves into the language and that will actually make your brain learn it faster? Are there, like, if you basically say like, hey, I'm only going to, like, if you get to the point, obviously, like, read and write in Spanish or change every like language setting on my TV and stuff, like, are there any hacks like that
that
make
might
you learn
ruin
faster?
Your night,
those things definitely help. If you're looking, and think about it this way, there's 4 domains in language. So vocabulary, like visual language is one, listening is another, spoken is another. So you can practice one over another with hacks like that. Like you can put the subtitles in English if you're a Spanish speaker or a non-native speaker of English, and then actually see the language. That may not necessarily translate to, hey, now I can speak, but it will translate to eventually, hey, I've seen this word before. I heard this word before. I recognize it. And so it's stage 1. You accomplish stage 1, and then you have to push yourself to stage 2.
I've got a friend in Miami. His name's Enrique. He's Brazilian, and he claimed that he learned the entire English language through the show Martin on TV in Brazil, and that's how he learned English is watching the show Martin. And I've heard other people talk about like Tony and stuff, like watching English shows taught them the language, and
music
that's crazy.
too.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that. However, people are looking for like that one hack. I have like a lot of students who just put the subtitles and they think that's the one and all. Personally, my first language is Spanish, and I didn't learn English until I was a teenager. I was in close to high school, middle school, high school. And what I did to really immerse was I made sure that I only watched TV in English. I listened to music in English. And if it wasn't for Wu-Tang Clan, my pronunciation, I would still have an accent. So I picked like the one song, type of genre of music that I can really clearly hear each articulation of each sound. And then I mimicked that. And I did it over and over and over again until it wasn't a problem anymore.
I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You learned English through Old Dirty Bastard.
Yes. So if Wu-Tang Clan starts
Who has a
making
speech
money,
impediment?
kudos to you guys.
Cash rules everything around me. The money, dollar bills, yo.
So, Jelitza, I also heard another thing, and tell me if it's true or not, but people learning other languages, they've told me before, when it actually clicked and they knew it clicked in their brain was when they started dreaming in that other language.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So, like, instead of dreaming, like if they're learning Spanish, they'd actually dream and be speaking Spanish in their dream. And, like, have you heard that before?
I've heard it a bunch of times. I can't necessarily say if that's true. I know that when it clicks for a person, it's when they stop translating. When you get to the point where you're listening to someone, and instead of like translating or interpreting it, you automatically just know what they're saying. And that's the part where it's clicking for you. There's several stages. So for example, if I'm learning Portuguese, and I hear word for word and I'm translating each and every single word, there's a miscommunication that's going to happen. So it hasn't clicked yet. But when I get to the point where someone's speaking to me in Portuguese, and I'm immediately, I know everything that they said, I learned, I'm there, I'm in there. Now I just have to produce the language. So that's the moment where it clicks. I don't know if I've been dreaming in English and Spanish for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends though that can do, and I think this is, it's the first step I think in getting way better at it. But I have a lot of friends, including I think your wife, who can hear it and know exactly what's being said. Maybe can't produce it back, but can give you just enough to communicate, which is really, I think, most people's beginning end game. Is to say like, hey, if I can just hear what somebody that speaks Spanish tells me, and it was really helpful for your wife, I know, in communicating. I know it's really helpful for being a realtor. She can navigate areas like because she knows. But, dude, I really regret not knowing a secondary language well.
And it's interesting. And Jelitza, if you don't, because I've seen this as well too. When me and my wife used to live in Miami, and she was working at Foot Locker, and she used to be able to speak fluent Spanish.
Oh, even when I first met her, she was way better at Spanish.
And then through like 10
Just
years
not
of
using it.
not
It's
using
not
it,
as
and it
much.
came back when we were living with Elizabeth, and she was speaking Spanish, and like speaking it on practice.
Yeah.
Well, hold on,
Yeah, hold
write
on,
this
write it
down.
down.
Practice makes perfect.
Practice works.
Wait, this
what?
It goes back to this whole thing that Dr. Wu-Tang was telling us about working hard. She's like, you got to work hard, you got to dedicate yourself to it. You could be a doctor like me, and we're like, no.
So, but how fast does it leave you if you don't keep up your practice?
So it's different if it's in my opinion, it's different if it's your native language versus if it's a foreign language. Let's say, and just statistically speaking, it takes typically about 6 months to 2 years for a person to develop what we call social language, which means this is the language that I'm going to use to communicate on a daily basis. Maybe I'm going to chat with my friends about trivial things or daily things of that nature.
Okay.
Now, let's say I develop those 2 years, and then I leave the country. I go back to Puerto Rico, and I'm only speaking Spanish for the next 10 years. Ooh. But there's some part of it that I'm going to miss. But I didn't fully develop the language. I didn't have 100% of that language dominated. Now, when it is your native language, like my native language is Spanish, and there are times when I'm going to say something in Spanish, and I say, what do you call that again? And I kind of, for a second there, I have a lapse of memory for this one vocabulary word. And it's not that I forgot it. It's just that it's not something that I use commonly. So I have to really put an effort to remember those words. But that whole idea that you lose the language, you don't necessarily lose the language. If it's your native language, if it's a foreign language, you just need more practice to kind of get back to where you were. It's kind of, the best analogy that I can give someone would be, it's like working out. You work out for 2 years, you get in the best shape of your life. And then for the next 3 years, you don't lift a single dumbbell, you don't work out, you don't do anything. It's not like you lost your muscles.
Yeah.
Your muscles are still there. You just need to work them out again to get back to where you were.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, they're just all soft.
Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I unpinned Scotty because you guys weren't talking to him. We hadn't said one word. He's just staring into the camera, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Scotty. And he looked mad as hell. He looked mad like he's going to cry.
Well, you gave out the wrong website.
I'm sorry.
But I'm fascinated by language.
I repinned him on the other side now.
Scotty.
I unpinned you just because you looked so mad at me, and it made me sad. And I thought
that's just my face.
I thought I let you down. I really thought I let you down, and I thought our team let you down, and I was sweating it over here.
I'm learning things from Jelitza, but I have to brag a little bit on Jelitza and the entire team that teaches our language learning. We next week during a ceremony with the Florida Library Association, we're going to receive 4 awards.
Tomorrow,
and one of them is it tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
So this week.
Oh no, just blame that on us. We did that.
Right.
And so it's for the ESOL programs.
Nice.
So we're very proud of that, of course. Our youth services, those folks turned on a dime and changed field trips into virtual field trips, which is pretty amazing.
That's
so
crazy.
They won an award for that. Our director, who is retiring at the beginning of next year, is getting the Lifetime Achievement Award. Wow. And hold on to your hats. We are Library of the Year as well.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
All right.
That's awesome.
Well, we'll be taking credit for that.
Yeah. Can we put up a plaque? We're friends with Library of the Year.
Do we get is it like the weekly? Do we get a plaque or something we can buy and put on the wall?
You got to print it out yourself.
I have to brag on you guys too. Whenever we have you guys on, when we and Scotty, whenever you bring us a guest, and it's no different today when you're bringing us these amazing, knowledgeable doctors and people that can like teach us something. Our chat room lights up with people that are like, these are amazing interviews. Yeah, and
Well, also imagine like this is available for free in our community. Access to talking to Jelitza, it's insane.
Yeah, it makes us angry because we do know that for the most part. Well, I mean, I know we're helping because I get a lot of email from our listeners.
People will spend thousands of dollars for programs they buy online to try to learn by themselves without the help Yeah.
I'll give you a better one. I used to teach for Valencia, UCF, and a couple of different universities, and now I do bring the same knowledge, same approach to the library, and I offer it for free.
Yeah, it's crazy the services you guys have available for our community, and hopefully we're trying to get the word out to people. Like, hey, if you want to learn another language, get your Orange County Library card, and it's free.
Yeah,
the best of the best.
We started with skills. You know, Scotty would bring things like you can learn all of these skills at the library. Now we've just consolidated it all into the most important skill, which is communication and language. So all of that free again.
Jelitza, I have to ask you a couple more questions because I'm fascinated with language, and my sons are trying to learn, like, obviously, and keep up with their Spanish, which I'm looking at Tommy. I'm like, you know anything? Like,
it's hard, though,
like,
man.
I tell my friends, I'm like, speak Spanish to him. He knows. And they talk to him. I'm like, you didn't know.
Yeah, but you're not speaking it to him.
Well, yeah, I know. But anyway.
But he does know a lot about Bovada.
So, if you, like, a couple things. If you were trying to learn a language, you have no base. Like, say you want to learn Mandarin Chinese, right?
Oh, that's going to be hard, man.
So, first, how long could a normal person expect to learn that? I know you mentioned 6 months to 2 years before you become social, but that seems like a way harder. Just because I've been around Spanish, like, I feel like I learn Spanish faster than Mandarin Chinese. That's one question. Second question is, are different people's brains wired differently, and they can accept and learn a language faster?
Well, that's a great question.
Because of the way their brain, like, some people have better hand-eye coordination and other,
So
like,
is there like a Michael Jordan of language, just a guy that's made for learning languages?
Or just like certain humans' brains it makes it easier for you to learn a different language?
Absolutely. So I'll address that question first. There is such a thing as having a high language aptitude. Some people have just like a keen sense of listening skills. For example, my youngest daughter, she can understand, and she'll hear someone speak Portuguese and she'll say, "Mommy, that's not Spanish," or "Mommy, you didn't pronounce this sound correctly." And she would pick up on those little nuances of language. Whereas my daughter, my oldest daughter, has a kind of more like logical brain. So she thinks in patterns, and she thinks in everything has to be systematic.
That's all.
So for her, language is segments, and she doesn't listen to the nuances of pronunciation. She just listens to maybe grammar or structure, and something like that will click for her differently. So there are different brains when it comes to language learning. Personally, I would say if I had to suggest or make a recommendation for someone, I would say really get to know how you are as a learner, how you learn the best, what sort of environment you need to be in to be able to facilitate your learning development, and put yourself in that predicament, put yourself in that situation so that you can learn the best possible way. So, for example, I know personally that I like that human interaction when I'm learning a language. Like softwares do one thing. They can help give me a nice little baseline. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to have a teacher where I can say, hey, am I saying this correctly? Or if I was trying to express this idea, would I say it this way? I'm an interpersonal learner. I need to talk to people to be able to develop any sort of skill and language, and that includes language.
Yeah, and you might want to fine-tune your questions. I was thinking about this. You answered my question before I got to ask it, because it's like guitar. You can try to learn guitar online, but it's never going to be as good as if you're sitting with a person who can say, well, why don't you move your hand here, or why don't you move that middle finger just like maybe just a centimeter to the right? That'll get rid of that buzz. Like the little nuances are only going to get there when it's human to human, and it looks like we're getting closer to that, which is nice.
Well, Jelitza, you brought up another thing that I started saying, like when the Google Translate started getting better and better, and then you started being able to translate different languages instantly through an app. I started to think like, oh, well, gone are the days of people learning different languages because the computer is going to translate everything for us. So no need to learn anything,
right.
Which I was like, yes, stop learning. But then I spoke to a businessman that he'd learned language, because he learned Spanish and Chinese because that was best for his like import, export or whatever. And when I was telling him, like, oh, with the apps and Google Translate, like, you don't need to. And he's like, nothing is a substitute for that human interaction you get speaking to another human in their language. It will never be like an app or a computer program will never be a substitute because that connection that you have is good for business, good for human interaction, and you're not going to get the same thing from an app. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I completely agree. In fact, knowing that I speak English and Spanish, I've put in some stuff on Google Translate just to see what I get. And some of those translations, as a native speaker of Spanish, I would say, what is this? This makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
And then we also have social language. Like we have idioms. And I would tell you, I have students that want me to teach idioms, and I usually don't get into that because they're so culturally driven that me growing up in New York City, we had idioms over there that I didn't know any of the ones from the South. And, maybe if you're a farmer, your idioms are very different.
Right.
When you start throwing idioms out about cows and chickens, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
tell me in English.
Yeah, there's a lot of little ones. Like I had a guy that was cursing me out on Xbox last night, and I believe he was Brazilian, and he said K, and they said ja 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 ja, because he just shot me in the head in Red Dead Redemption, and it was a ja 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 ja, all J's and all the K, and I got the ja ja, and I knew what that was. I was like, that guy is laughing at me. He is really getting me good.
So, Scotty, I'll ask you this question. If you want to get involved, learn a language, what's the first step?
Well, I would visit our website, ocls.info/language.
We deserve that.
And that'll take you right to all these language resources. And there, we've only honestly scratched the surface here of all the different resources that we have available. So that would be the first step.
There you go. Hit up the website that we started the segment saying incorrectly.
By the way, I have multiple papers in front of me that Samantha gave me. Travis Butler. It all says .info, and then I wrote underneath them .org.
Are you serious?
Because I was like, I know better than this paper.
Nothing's gonna stop me from getting this wrong. Dr. Wu-Tang said if I set my mind to this, I can get this segment wrong, and it's .org because she told me if I just have to dedicate myself to failing.
Also, she's like, well, some people hear the phonetics of the language better. Some people the grammar. And I'm like, what if you don't have both? You can't.
I would say then my suggestion is practice, but practice only the things that are meaningful to you.
Nothing means
not
everything.
Something that you're going to use.
I'm lazy
too.
Okay.
I would share with you guys. I have plenty of students over my years. I've been teaching English as a second language now for about 18 years.
Oh my God, that's a long time. You don't look that old.
I'm a little old.
No, you're not old. No, man, you're not. You're not this old. This is. You're not that. That's when English is your first language.
I started my first year of teaching school. I was 19. I was a full-time teacher by 19. So.
Wow.
One of the things that students they get really fixated on, what does this word translate to? And then my question to them is, well, if you've never seen an elk and you've never had to refer to an elk in Spanish, then who cares what an elk is called in Spanish? Just learn it in English. It's an elk, or it's a moose, or whatever the case may be. And so and get away from that fixation of having to translate. Some things are not transferable. We don't have necessarily a language for it. And and I try to explain to students, listen, elks don't exist in Puerto Rico. They don't exist in Mexico. So we're not necessarily going to have a word for this. And it's happened time and time again with different people. I had a student that came from Egypt, and she was stumped by an armadillo. I show her a picture. She's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's an animal. It's an armadillo."
It's a road mummy.
And she kept asking me, and she was like, and then she finally says, "We don't have this in Egypt." And I said, "Okay, well, we have it in America, so we're going to call it an armadillo, and then we're not going to be concerned with translating. So only learn the things that are meaningful to you. If you're not into animals, who cares what the animals are called? Learn the things that are meaningful to you. Use that as your base. Build a solid base, and then branch out from there."
See, that's why you need Jelitza teaching you.
This is awesome. Man, I love you as a guest. This is phenomenal, man. I'm loving this.
It's
also, you tripped me up with elk because you said Spanish, and I was really trying, and I went L And then I was like, elk.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's an elk in English, and so I've gone through some vocabulary where we're reading.
I just made a horrible joke. It was elk.
And my students are all fascinated. They're like, "What is that in Spanish?" I'm like, "I have no idea."
It happens a lot too. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like with supernatural stuff or like superheroes. I'll be watching a show, or my daughter will be. There's this one channel that we like, and it'll flip over to like a Spanish kids show, but it'll have like certain characters, and they'll be talking in Spanish, and certainly they'll say things like Spider-Man or Superman. They're not gonna make a
El Hombre Araña.
Yeah, they don't really make. They just kind of leave it what it is. You know, it's like, well, if the character's Shrek, then he's Shrek. He's not like a Spanish version of Shrek. You know, I mean, so I
had a joke recently. I said, I told my 15-year-old, I said, so I have a riddle for you. Do you know why in Spanish we call Spider-Man El Hombre Araña, but Batman just Batman? And she goes, yeah, because Batman has no superpowers. And so, and I'm like, there's really no remote reason like that. We just choose to keep some words like that. And
I like that
name, we don't have to translate a name.
Yeah.
You just keep it the way it is.
Yeah,
what
it's proper.
Your name?
Leave it alone. Yeah, it's a proper noun at that point. I like it.
And also, the end game is that we communicate. So that's really the most important
focus.
And
if you can't figure out Batman when I'm pointing at it, we got a problem. We got a huge problem.
Well, Jelitza, Scotty, thanks so much. It is amazing what you guys offer in our community that's available for people.
It keeps piling up. Like every time you guys come on, we are very lucky that we get to share with our listeners one more great thing that you guys offer for them and for our community, and hopefully they're all taking you guys up on all this great stuff.
I mean, there's really no reason to go to college anymore. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to, you could get all the information at the Orange County Libraries.
There is a different path.
To be clear, the library is not advocating college. But thank you guys for your ongoing support. We very much appreciate it.
Why do I feel like it's ending today?
We appreciate what you've done for us.
Bye-bye.
Good day. I can see you writing the email, and thank you in your future endeavors.
And I'm just saying that to be nice because I'm pretty sure you've done nothing for us.
Yeah, I've seen all of those when I worked for iHeart. I saw all the emails that come through. Effective today, Tom and Dad are no longer in the building. Their emails turned off. Their pass cards are turned off. Good luck to them in their future endeavors. Hey guys, thanks so much for the time, and we will definitely let's see if we can get the website
by the way,
one more time.
During the conversation, I went to OCLS.org and it just reroutes you to info, so you can go there and you'll end up at the same place. It still works.
But definitely check out the Learn a Language page. Like, we have the Spanish one, we have the English. Definitely check out all the resources we have on there. In addition to having softwares, we also have like worksheets and links to different things that people can do just to start. There's a couple of videos on there if you're really interested in English articulation. Don't judge the video. It was my first time in front of the camera. So, just to get it, just to help people have something to take home and really practice. We really listen to what they want, and we try to give them a product that they can.
I love it. Well, you guys are the coolest. This is an awesome resource. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much, guys.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye. How bad did I embarrass you, buddy? Man.
I embarrassed myself and all of us, and especially Samantha.
What? I think you were the most.
Because it looks like I'm not preparing you guys for these interviews.
Yeah,
well, you're not.
I do that on purpose.
You're not. I want you to read these worksheets to me.
I'm not joking.
What happened to the day when
all the information, and I wrote down .org in pencil. It says it on the other papers, the right website.
How impressive were they, right?
Yeah.
We get like the coolest guests
from
OCLS. I love it.
All the information Samantha gives me, I look at it, and then I start writing down the stuff.
Wrong information.
So you know what I looked at? I was mad because of how much ink she wasted. So I was furious.
Sorry.
I was like, who would do that?
I look at all the.
I was like, Butler must have printed this out. There's ink everywhere.
I look at Jelitza's bio with all her summary. What she did, they're like, I know what she's done.
You know nothing.
Oh my! You know what I said? I could guess.
I looked at I fired them both up. I see Scotty up there. I see Jelitza, and I was like, "Who is that?" I was like, "Who is that lady? When did she show up? Who is that?" That's how I do it.
We're confused about everything. There's no way to live.
You should practice reading.
Yeah.
You should take the. Maybe you should take the class.
God, you know what? When I used to work for companies, I'd be like, my bosses are idiots. So now I know how everybody else feels. Now I feel bad for thinking that. Or do I feel bad? Or I just knew the truth.
Or you could just, you know, be 1% better.
Yeah. Or just be like, I was right back then and I'm right now.
Embrace it.
They were idiots and I'm an idiot.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. All right.
I felt bad for Scotty. I need to figure out, okay, you guys talk this out with me because we're going to have to do this again.
Yep.
Should I pin Scotty in there, or should I just leave them unpinned so they'll go whenever people talk? Probably just do that, right?
I would do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because you do end up...
Because sometimes it'll hang on Scotty while she's talking, and then so you hear a voice that'll just be a rando voice, and then you just see the guy.
Dude, I was watching this. Funny you mentioned this because I was watching some YouTube. Like my wife's been trying to go to bed earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so I have like an hour now.
Hard,
I can watch
man.
whatever I want. So now I'm watching
YouTube.
I'm in YouTube gambling content, and I'm watching these shows, and they're like a lot of them are just Zoom content. So it's like 4 guys all looking at their screen, right? But he's talking to one and then the other, and the other guy hadn't been talking for 15 minutes, just sitting there. And then I become consumed with like this guy's just sitting there.
That's what happened in the Twitch chat. They were all consumed with Scotty.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do that to Scotty because I love Scotty. He's like an awesome dude. And I'm like, and he was just kind of sitting there, and like, you don't know what you look like, really.
And you don't want to take him off because you feel rude.
But I did. I took him off, and then I felt relief. I saw relief in his eyes.
Yeah, because he sees himself.
I was like, oh, he's glad. But then when I put him back in, it flung him to the right side and put the Tom and Dan splat right over his face. I mean, the chat room was happy they got to see more of the doctor. I'm just saying.
All right. We'll be right back with more corporate time.
Oh, I thought you were taking it to the limit.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes.
We have 3 minutes. Let's bring it back.
Okay.
And we're back.
Psych. Let's bring the psych back.
I don't know. I didn't look up the thing. I didn't think it was that long. I didn't think it was that long. So what should we do?
Stop talking to Jelitza.
No.
You know, I was thinking about when she was
day.
like talking about those apps and how like
I'm gonna make an app where people
Bumble
share
translate.
their pools.
No, I started thinking about. I was like, my God, imagine what. Who knows what I was telling the nanny through that app.
Oh my God.
I was just talking to her and show her.
Was it long conversations? Oh God.
Well, you know how his questions are, so I'm sure.
Yeah.
You were good during that. I mean, there were a couple times. I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but sometimes while you're asking a question, I'll lean in and go like, "What do you think about that?" And like,
try to cut it short.
I like that.
Cut you off.
I like that.
With the assist.
But I get scared because I think you're going to punch me in the face or something. Because
it's like I throw a wild ball that's gonna miss the hoop and you grab it, dunk it. I'm like, I meant to do that.
Well, I won't be dunking it. No, I will not be dunking it. More like I'm loading it into a mesh bag for later. Putting them in the back of my car, cleaning your basketball jerseys.
I don't know what that is.
No, you want to do a good job and you want to ask a proper question.
Yeah, but
so you want to get all the details.
Well, it's also your ADD, right? So you got like 5 questions in the chamber, and then instead of asking them one by one, you just like, I gotta get them all out right now.
36 chambers, Dr. Wuhan.
Wow.
That's a different doctor. That's a different doctor. The Wuhan clan is a whole different rap group.
Yeah. It's like I ask the
Old
question,
dirty COVID,
and then I answer it, or I want to attempt to answer it while I ask it. I is stupid. My God. I see other people like real good interviewers, like, and they barely talk. They let the guests do the talking, and I'm like, man, that's
somebody. I was listening.
Like, it's way better too.
I felt bad.
I don't want to hear this idiot.
You and I were riffing, and I'm looking over the computer, and I see just Scotty and the good doctor, sitting there, and they're just like, when are these guys going to shut up? And I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was listening to an interview this morning of Andy from Opie and Anthony from Opie and Anthony, and he was talking about like how you should always let the person you're interviewing talk because your audience will get to hear you.
every
the
other
time,
day.
yeah.
all the time, and I was like, these are great points. Then these people get on the line, and I'm like, perform. What the hell's wrong with me?
I'll start talking
Idiot.
as they watch us, and we'll just start talking, doing the show, and then we're like, I guess we'll go to our guests, and then I'll ask a long question, answer it for them,
With the wrong answer.
Yeah,
And
now
then while you're doing that, I'm pinning and unpinning our contact. Who?
I don't know. That's not good.
I think it's working though.
Yeah.
I think
it's working.
I
It's
definitely,
working.
I can feel the level of English and Spanish raising in Orlando.
Okay, so
Uh-oh.
this is true
This
with
is
my
so-
son.
Well, now we
Oh.
actually do have to go.
No.
Now you're going
No,
into a
No,
story.
he has time. We have 6 minutes.
Okay.
But
Just
make it 2.
No, I'm just saying, Tommy, he's been in this dual language program for 2 years, and then the nanny, all Spanish, so I bragged to you. Remember, I'm like, they know Spanish fluently. They're business
Well,
Spanish.
they did know Spanish.
Business
Like, I've
Spanish.
seen them speak Spanish. I've seen them count in Spanish. I've seen them do all
Well,
that.
count. I mean, my Uncle
I-
Randy could do that. Like, uno,
Yeah.
dos,
Cinco de Mayo.
Dos cervezas!
Yeah. So I'm telling my friends, and and when Tony Moonjet comes over,
You hate saying that, don't you?
I
I said it to my wife last night. I said I was talking to Tony Munjet about some guitar advice. She's like, "Who's that?" That's a true story.
Tony Rage.
Making my wife look bad.
And then when Tony comes over, I'm like, talk to my sons in Spanish. They know. And
They had no idea what he was saying.
And he's like, hola, ¿cómo estás? He's asking about the just worker. They're like, I'm scared. My dad taught me to be scared. They don't know nothing. And I'm like, do the thing, and they don't know nothing. And I'm like, oh God,
Okay.
what a waste of my life.
I try to give Maisie a kiss now in the mornings, or before she goes to bed. I go to give her a kiss. This is her new way of bullying me. So before she act like you're gonna give me a kiss from there. Don't lean in, but
Okay.
just act like you're gonna give me a kiss. I'm leaning in, and I'm Maisie, and she goes.
Oh,
She
she holds her
holds her-
breath.
Hold her breath, so she's like, your breath smells disgusting. She can't say disgusting.
yeah.
She just bullies
I think
me.
we do have old man breath.
So she holds her
Don't
breath
feel it.
before she kisses me.
Smells like
Those boiled eggs you had yesterday.
like boiled eggs and hot beer.
We bought new one.
Yeah,
It smells like
it smells like
Did you spill orange juice on your jeans? That's what it smells like.
You want some hot beer breath? And there's like
Sometimes there have been times I've gone to kiss my wife, and I'm like, whoa. I was like, what have you been drinking? Ham? Holy crap. I can't kiss you. Let's just sex it. You ever do that? Where you just sex it?
no
kissing.
never done so.
Yeah, you got to just sex it, no kissing. That's called porn star experience.
Oh, yeah. Why is that one less expensive?
I don't
Like
know.
the girlfriend.
The world never knows.
All right. Bye bye.